seeing it is 7:03 on June 8th, 2025, I now call the Sherborn Board of Health to order. Given this is a virtual meeting, board members shall announce their presence by roll call.
Daryl Beardsley, present.
Steve Constantine, present.
Julie Dreyfus, present.
Diana Hook, present.
Okay. Do we have any items that were not reasonably announced 48 or reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance that are not currently on our agenda?
Julie, if I can, we did have a last minute request for an installer certificate to be reviewed. It's Rodenheiser Excavating.
Sounds good. And my understanding is this is a renewal
I
work
believe
that is
so.
going to hopefully be done before our next meeting, hence the urgency. Sure. Can I have a motion to amend the agenda to include the review of the installer's permit for Rodenheiser Excavating?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
Sounds good. We'll have to make sure we don't forget that one. Given that our food inspector is here, why don't we take his business first? I think it'll be fairly short. Tom, where do you have a particular place you would like us to start? If Thomas, I think Tom was.
Yeah, wherever the beginning of the list is on the agenda here is fine with me. So Waves Dairy. I have no issue with them. They've been in town before. It's a vegan ice cream truck. They don't require lab reports for testing because it's non-dairy product. So it's pretty straightforward. It's like a powdered mix that he uses, and he puts it in an ice cream making machine, mixes with water, and it distributes out the front like a normal frozen yogurt machine would do. And he has access to hand washing on board from my memory. Trolley Dogs is a vendor that's revisited us. They've been here before over the last several years. He's pretty good. He has a brand new truck that he's been showing up with as of late, that has hot and cold running water, potable and non-potable water tanks, working refrigeration, mechanical refrigeration. So pretty straightforward, low risk menu items, as far as hot dogs and maybe some hot holding for chili, and refrigeration for, accompaniments. Wanderlust Brothers, I'll probably have to reach out for inspection. If not, inspect them at the event. Sorry, was the agenda on the screen there? It just disappeared for me.
Oh, it is here. One of the things I've learned, it's a slightly different Zoom format. If you look at the tabs at the very top of your screen, it is possible that you have clicked on a different
Yeah.
tab.
Let me just pull it. I'm on my phone, so I apologize.
Oh, you're on your phone. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't. It's like
Oh,
on
I
your-
have it right here. I have it
So
on my other.
I can tell you Simmer and Spice food truck for the library series on the 23rd of July.
Oh yeah, I have it on my other phone here. Okay, good. Yes. We'll have to conduct an inspection there. So, approval contingent on a past health inspection. And Nirvana, the other ones are past events that attended at Dudley Fest, and they roughed it out in the rain for a while, but ended up backing up eventually, due to weather. But all was well upon inspection. So as far as I'm concerned, these are suggested for approval, contingent on the board's vote.
Sounds good. Why don't we just go down the line? So do I have a motion to approve the temporary food permit for Waves Dairy free soft serve ice cream for their, I'm sorry, not temporary, it's an annual, sorry. Let me start again. Do I have a motion to approve the annual food permit for Waves Dairy Free Soft Serve?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Steve Constantine,
Daryl
aye.
Beardsley, aye. Oops, sorry,
Sorry.
Steve.
Sorry.
That work. Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve Trolley Dogs temporary food permit for the library concert series on July 9th?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Steve Constantine,
Daryl
aye.
Beardsley, aye. Oops.
I'm sorry. I
We're
thought we
going
were
back
going
to
by
alphabetical.
alphabetical order, yeah.
We're back in alphabetic. Okay, so we have an aye from Daryl, an aye from Steve, Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
Do I have a motion to approve Wanderlust Brothers food truck for the library concert series on July 16th, conditional to past inspection at the event?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
And do I have a motion to improve Simmer and Spice food truck for the library concert series on July 23rd, conditional to a past inspection at the event?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
And finally, do I have a motion to approve or to ratify the food permit for Nirvana Tea House from the Dudley Fest event at Unity Farm on June 7th?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
All right. I think, does that cover everything we have for you, Tom?
I believe so, yes, and thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have time before our 7:30. We have under agents business a number of items. I don't know if anyone from the board was here early enough to see who was in the room first. That's how we usually do this. Um,
When I opened up the meeting, there were 8 people waiting, so they all came in at once.
okay. Okay. Mark, is there a particular one that we should take first?
It's
Out.
difficult to say. I would say first come, first serve, but again, it's so difficult to find out who was in the room first. All I can tell you is Ray, for some reason, an email came through at 6:51 to say he was here. And Ray Weiss is representing 26 Coursebrook. I'm not
Okay.
sure if someone was here before him. I feel bad if they were. And if they so wish to say they were here before 6:51, they may offer to, if the board so wishes to note that.
Sure. So anyone who is waiting for their building application review, if you were here before 6:51 and you believe yourself to be here before that, please raise your hand now. Otherwise, we're going to go to 26 Coursebrook Road. We will get to you. It just won't be first. I'm not seeing any hands raised. So,
Okay.
why don't we start with 26 Coursebrook then?
Yeah, and 26 Coursebrook, once you get to the plans, you'll see it's a ranch per se. They don't have a second floor, but they have a basement level with 2 finished rooms. And then they're hoping to look at adding an office that will be inside one of the bedrooms, but it's labeled as a separate room. I'll wait for you to draw the plans up and we can go from there. The board has seen.
I just wanted to note to Steve, after this, I will stop sharing and Steve can share. was gonna transfer over, but
So you're looking right now at the basement level. Darrell, were you down? I'm sorry if you weren't.
yeah, I'm done.
Oh, okay. So at the basement level, you see a finish space, open space, and yes, right there. And then next to it's a finished storage area. And there is a full bathroom in the basement as well. You'll see that a little bit on the upper. Yep. And then just general storage, doesn't note it's finished. And the slabs on the other side for the family room and the garage. Excuse me. So I would count those as two finished rooms. The applicant has indicated they can't be used legally per the building code, but I explained that the state has come out and ruled if they're using them as finished space, they still are counted in the room count. And then the next
I just
floor,
have a question about this
Yeah.
window here. I guess it's a window. Is it just a tiny
There-
basement window, or is it?
This is Ray Weiss. I can answer that for you. There's two very small windows in the basement. That's one of them. And this plan is part of the proposed plan. So I've labeled that just as there is availability to have access to the slab. But there is no form of egress aside from the stairs that lead up to the garage area. It's like that window you see there is like a 16-inch high, 30-inch wide hopper style window.
if I can ask, what are the red dots for?
The fire department, we have to put in all new smoke detectors just because we're working on
Okay, thank you.
in the bedroom space, so we have to upgrade the whole house.
I see. Thank you.
While we're on the floor, Ray, the other finished storage area, not the open finished, what is the square footage of that area?
I'd have to get back to you. I don't have the dimensions for it, but I'm sure it's at least larger than if you're asking for a bedroom size.
I'm asking if it
this
meets
is
the
the-
definition of a room, if it's the 70.
Well,
feet.
the-
You're right.
Yeah, the space, when you go downstairs, if they want to make a movie out of the 1960 and Dad's Bar, this is the room. Like, it's all the pine stuff. So I don't know how they used this space before. The mechanical room clearly has mechanical equipment in both those. The storage area is concrete walled with no finishes. And then the rest of the space down there has kind of got tongue and groove boards going around the whole thing. Whenever it was done, it was probably very near when it was Mr. Neat, Lars's dad, who built the house himself. So but there's no other form of egress. So only the set of stairs going up.
Okay. I have a question then, just to make sure I'm not misinterpreting or misunderstanding. Is the level of the slab the same as the level of the floor in this area?
No, if you go to so the garage is obviously, that's the garage. So we note these just because they're part of the rest of the building structure. So the family room is a slab on grade on the first floor, and the garage is a slab on grade on the second floor. So those are above grade, for lack of a better word. They're just noted
Okay.
as slabs above.
Ah, okay. So we'll see the family room again on the next floor. right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. It's not two family rooms. All right. Okay.
And then on the first floor existing, you'll see over to the left, the master bedroom with the master bath, another bedroom, and 3 other bedrooms, I can say it that way. So I count 4 rooms there. And then the kitchen, I count as one area. Now the dining area is, I believe, Ray, is that a wall that's against the kitchen or between the dining room, or is that like a half wall?
It's a wall.
It's a wall. So I would count those as 2 more additional rooms. The den, this is how I did the count. Doesn't mean the board's going to look at it the same way in the family room. And so with that, I count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rooms. So it's a 4-bedroom septic design that was put in 2018, but if we count the finished rooms in the basement, they exceed the allowed room count by 1 room. And the board has deed recorded finished rooms. And if the board so decides to deed record those finished rooms in the basement, you would eliminate those 2 rooms and you'd be to 8 rooms if they're deed recorded. And then you'll see the proposal coming up.
If I might, Mark, before you
Yeah.
move the plan,
Sure.
the challenges that Andrew and Hannah came to me with was the laundry's in the master bathroom right now. So the tub in the master bathroom is the big laundry basket.
Okay.
So that's what we've done, is separated the master suite from the laundry and added a laundry room. And then right now, everybody's still doing a lot of work from home. So, Hannah's using one of the bedrooms and Andrew's in the den, which is right in the pathway for their 2 young children running between the kitchen and the family room. So they asked me to come up with a solution to get quiet space for him and not have the laundry. So that's what you'll see in the proposed plan.
Yeah, and that'll be the next plan if we want to jump to that. And so the changes, as it's mostly up near the master bedroom. They're proposing, as noted just a minute ago, a little change to the closet in the bathroom. And then it says, I think it's undefined, but that was the master bedroom that's there. And then
I found that typo today, Mark. I apologize. It says unspecified. Our
unspecified,
program,
yeah.
if you turn a page and press a button, sometimes goes back. So I updated that today
Okay.
in a new plan that says master bedroom instead of unspecified. And I didn't even know that happened until I went to get a
That's
review.
fine. I just assumed with the bathroom off it, it would be considered still the master bedroom. And then there's a new office being planned in between the bedrooms. And you'll see the 3 bedrooms plus the master bedroom and then the new office. The doorway into the master bedroom / new office is prior to the entrance to the office. And then you have the additional 4 rooms on the other side of the house. So that'd bring us up to 11, from 10 existing to 11, and that's counting the finished basement rooms. As I said, if the board so wishes to deed record the 2 finished rooms in the basement, now we're going down to 10 with this proposal, where you have the 5 rooms on the bedroom side, and then kitchen, dining. It's called a gallery now. So that's the other one that used to be the den, but was relabeled gallery. So it could be 9, it could be 10, if that's based on if the basement rooms are deed recorded. So I'll let the board go from here. We have seen something like this before, and I know the board preferred to have the office labeled as part of the master bedroom, as a master bedroom suite, just for your information.
Daryl, I believe there's a blow up of this, of the proposed changed area in the subsequent,
Yes.
which is very helpful. Thank you. And Mark, so this is a 4-bed system?
Yes, it was designed and approved, and they have a certificate of compliance from 2018 for a 4-bedroom septic system.
2018, okay. So let's start in the basement and then we can move up to the first floor. What do you think? We'll take it from the bottom up. Looking at these spaces, there is one slider window that does not offer egress. These do not open into a full bath. Or a full bath does not open into either of these 2 finished spaces. It appears, and again, we don't know, it sounds like the smaller finished storage area is probably not a closet, an actual room. It meets the square footage requirements is what I think I hear I hear Ray saying. But I think that these 2 could be contenders for how we've looked at deed recorded rooms. I think I would feel comfortable doing that in this situation. What's the rest of the
I'm
board think?
okay with that. I think the one thing to be consistent with other areas that, since I'm guessing there's a door at the top of the stairs.
That's actually open. Is that right, Andrew? Is my recollection correct? There's a gate at the top?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's Andrew, Racer. I'm the owner at 26 Coursebrook. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, no, there's no door at either end. I'm sorry, there's no door at the top of the of that set of stairs.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess we've also looked at it in terms of how easy it is to isolate an area. So I have kind of mixed feelings that we haven't wanted to have full bathrooms or three-quarter bathrooms in an area where, you know, there is some privacy afforded, and this almost becomes like an in-law suite, with the exception of, and this is where I'm conflicted, is that for bedrooms to be legal bedrooms, they need 2 forms of egress for safety. And neither of these rooms down here that are finished offer that, because this window isn't of sufficient size and there is no window here. So that kind of negates them as being a bedroom for a suite of some sort. So this one falls in the gray area for me.
Daryl, for what it's worth, I like my in-laws, and I wouldn't so I wouldn't have them stay down here. It's just
Right. No,
it's not
I'm trying to recall. I think we're trying to do what we've done for other properties in town
Sure.
and stay consistent. And I think that we saw one of the townhouses that had something similar. And I don't know that had, I don't remember if that might have had a walkout part though. I'm not recalling at the moment. Mark, do you remember? I think it was on
I believe one
Southfield.
of the condo units, you had to step up a half level of stairs to get to the ground level. And I believe that was down on North Main Street when we were looking at that one.
Okay. Okay, so there was a walk out then from the basement.
Yeah, and the board, that was the major
North
review
side.
was it a half like below grade and so forth, and those stairs were about a half level of stairs, wasn't a full set of stairs.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bulkhead and, okay,
That is correct. Yeah.
okay. That might make this different then.
And the bath here in this in the basement is in fact a 3/4, or is it only a half bath?
There's one of those tiny little, you can't buy them that size anymore. I think it's 32 by 32 inches, the shower pan in there. But there's a shower.
Okay. Thank you.
Is this a sink here or something else?
Yeah, it's just part of like, I'm trying to picture the whole vibe of the place down there, but it's a mix of, you know, craftsman stuff mixed in, and there's a sink there. So I tried to put everything in there and not omit, you know, whatever was down there.
Yeah.
It's kind of this weird plywood cabinet. I don't know if you'd want to use it for pantry space with, we live in the woods with the mice, but it kind of has a storage vibe like that. It's an awkward long hall. And then there's a big old fashioned bar at the end that's kind of dilapidated.
And Ray, I think I heard you say there's no bulkhead access to the basement.
No, there's actually more than one of these tiny little windows down there, but some of them are hidden behind like sheetrock, like they didn't care. And they're all like 30 inches wide, 14 inches high, and they're at the top of the wall. So they don't meet the requirement of being 48 inches off, off. I think it's 42 inches off the ground. And then, egress size, you'd have to put something in that's 5.7 square feet, I think is the number. But all of these are just whatever the original little metal things they stuck in homes this age.
And no plans for a bulkhead, correct?
No, we'd have to get a permit for that.
Okay, so I'm probably okay. I'm okay, I think, with deed recording the 2 rooms as not to ever be used as a bedroom.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. It is a little on the line.
Yeah, and that would
If
also
you
have,
were interested in taking out that tiny shower, that would be nice, but we're not. I know that's not part of the proposed change.
and if I
So-
may, sorry, go ahead, Julie, I'm sorry.
Well, I just had a question about the 2
Diane,
rooms,
I'm
just
sorry.
to clarify in my mind that we're looking to deed record is the finished storage and the finished open space.
Yes,
Just the
yes,
2.
Yeah,
I think
those are
because
the
these are
2.
2.
And that deed recording will say that not to be used as a bedroom and not to be part of the room count, since that will throw off the room count for what's allowed for a 4-bedroom, which is 9 rooms total.
Mm.
Which we have a standard deed recording for that.
Yep.
And I'm assuming because this doesn't say finished here, that it is unfinished storage.
Yeah, when you go in there, it's like a visible concrete, tools, stuff like that. The one to the right of it, the mechanical, that's actually got some heating equipment. And the other one that says mechanical next to the bath is just kind of open with, exposed pipes and stuff.
Mm. Okay.
Okay.
And so we go to the primary. Can you keep going, Daryl? That's the
Blow up.
existing.
Yep.
And I found the zoom in, the blow up that's on the subsequent page. That was helpful. I am cognizant of our time.
What's
So-
the dark area in the office off to the left? Yeah, that.
That would be the new office.
So the rooms, but what's the dark area specifically?
Oh, that's a desk, some cabinets in the plan.
Okay.
We're working through finalizing those decisions.
Got it. So you're just starting to show some furniture.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've in fact quite recently looked at a bedroom suite, and 2 of the critical points for something to be a bedroom suite for us is it has to be integrated as into the room, into the primary bedroom, or to the bedroom. It doesn't have to be the primary, and it cannot offer privacy. And so we have the hallway, the door from the hallway, but immediately next to it, we have the opening into the office. And that looks like it's proposed to be a door. Given that you are not entering into the bedroom suite in any way, you're not walking into a hall. It's right there, and there's a door. It for me, that as currently designed is not integrated as a bedroom suite, and it does offer privacy, which is kind of 2 strikes. But I think there are ways to move around that, which would be certainly to consider removing a door and consider relocating the opening into that space. The way we often see that is when people have a nice walk-in dressing room, closet kind of a scenario, or something that is modular that could be used like that. Whether or not they use it as an additional office, but it is integrated in, so you have to enter into a hallway, having that doorway from the hallway into the larger bedroom suite is important. But that for me would make a big difference if the door was removed, and if the doorway was relocated, certainly would help. Wondering what the rest of the board thinks.
Julie, can you point out which door would be removed?
Oh, sure. I don't have, Daryl has the cursor.
sorry.
Okay.
So this, yeah, so there is exactly, Daryl's pointing to the proposed door on the office, which would give a semblance of privacy, which we said is, doesn't work for a bedroom suite. We have also talked about the location, that it needs to be integrated into the larger bedroom suite. And given that the door from the hallway is immediately next to the entrance into this new proposed space, which is labeled office, that does not feel particularly integrated for me, which is why I'm suggesting a relocation of the entrance into that space. And certainly a removal of the door would be ideal. And I know for the homeowner, I'm sorry, I've lost your face and your name, but I know that may not be ideal, but that is how we've treated other spaces like this, in order to help
So
people
here's-
get to a yes. Yeah.
I had a similar thought, since we, as you said, we did just wrestle with this exact same condition of ready access. We come out with 9 rooms at the moment, with if we did record the 2 basement rooms. And
Oh,
so
so-
that would, we could just count the office and it's all set.
Hmm.
And
For deed recording, but
they could choose to put this door over here, and then it would still be the same, and it matches up with the size of the septic system.
right, because you're counting the gallery.
And that is correct. That
and-
would be
Oh,
nine,
perfect.
9 rooms.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
and we have a 4. Perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you, Daryl. I lost count. I heard that we'd get down to 10. I didn't hear that we were getting down to. Yep,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, because we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9.
that is correct.
I have a question on the room count. Do you consider like an eat-in nook a separate room from the kitchen?
No, we're considering that whole thing 1 room.
I see. Thank you.
Ironically, we moved the door to where it is now because I thought you'd be mad about adding an office and having it come off the hall, because then someone could do their own nefarious thing or whatever. But you know, when I'm over the home when they're working, you can hear, you know, they both are on the phone using normal voices, but that's the part of the problem with trying to work in the gallery right now, is there's no way to work. But
Right.
you know, we're trying to maintain as much privacy as we can. We're even planning on, Hannah's using the middle bedroom right now. We're planning some additional soundproofing between those 2 walls so that they wouldn't disturb each other during work. And that's kind of the purpose / need of having a door to go in there. Is to, you know, to be able to run laundry, to keep, you know, when people are, if one of them is coming and going through the master suite, they can call. But I thought we were kind of working with the Board of Health more to put the door inside the master is why. So I don't know if that, because of the room count, is okay. The door could even be moved into the hallway, or what your view is on the door after the room count.
Yeah, once we, you know, there's the ability to include the office as its own room, and then you have more flexibility on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And the
And,
good
you
thing
know,
about this property,
It works.
yeah, it works, and it's a ranch. So these rooms are really not over the first floor, they're on the first floor, so they don't get that automatic bedroom definition.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it sounds like, right, if there was interest in relocating the doorway that is currently proposed in the hallway so that it is right outside the bathroom door for the primary bath, that would work with the room count if you did want
Yeah,
office
that would be
accessible
ideal
off
for the
the-
customer. That's what the racers wanted originally, was my
Yeah.
dumb move.
And with if we're bringing down the room count to 9, then that is that would be possible.
Okay,
Okay, so
so
it sounds
should we
like,
make
yeah, it sounds like we need
motion?
to make a motion.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I had one question regarding the deed restriction.
Yeah.
So, Ray kind of gave me the kind of the rundown on what to expect on today's call. So I pulled another deed restriction for another property, that went through, the Board of Health, early last year, and I understand, based off of, what Mark said, that it's a, pretty standard template. And I did have, I'm thinking about in terms of marketability. And by the way, I'm fine with the deed recording. Don't get me wrong. But if you're not in tune with like septic and you're not used to having well water, the language on the deed restriction, point number 3 on the deed restriction was a little vague, actually, in my eyes, in terms of like the scope and the intent of what you all are trying to do, which is to make sure that, a 4-bedroom home stays a 4-bedroom home, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so, it says house may not be further expanded unless and until the septic system is upgraded to comply with the Board of Health and state regulations. And if I'm just off the street looking in Sherborn, and obviously we're not planning to move anytime soon because we're investing all this, in an addition. But if I'm not familiar with kind of the ins and outs here, I would read that as affecting the marketability, even though that might not be the intent of that of the deed restriction. Um, does that mean like we couldn't add a 10-foot foyer on the house? I'm just wondering what
Uh,
you know
Yeah, and I can help
one
answer.
clarity on that.
And Andrew, I can help answer some of that. First, if a Title V inspector's at your property, they would have to disclose it's a 5-bedroom by the room count, and it's not. It's a 4-bedroom by design. But there are foyers wouldn't really be an issue. The opportunity is that you could possibly add on to your septic system because it was built after 1995. So someday, if you wanted to make it a 5-bedroom septic system, you could have up to the 11 rooms. So there's that opportunity too. It's just to make sure the Title V inspector doesn't mislabel the report that they have to do when your house sells as a 5-bedroom. That's the whole purpose of the deed recording, if that helps.
And it's also to alert people because we have a lot of people who end up buying houses and in the past have been advertised in one way that does not match the septic. So people come in with different expectations about how they can use the home. So we're
Sure.
trying to alert people, but it's, I guess, what you've mentioned, it's worth considering whether there's anything else, as you said, for the people who are not familiar with what septic is all about, is to maybe expand that statement somehow without getting too complicated.
Yeah, to Mark's point, a 10-foot foyer addition wouldn't be a problem, right? But
Or
if you read
making a
that
room
language,
bigger wouldn't be a problem necessarily
if
either. So
if you read that language, it doesn't sound like that's not a problem. It sounds like any addition is a big problem. And then it talks about compliance and, as a prospective buyer, if I'm not, you know, really like up to speed on Title V and how this all works, that could kind of be a turnoff to me.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to protect certainly protect the well water, right? Which is what everyone's here to do. which I appreciate, by the way, and thank you for doing that. But I just also want to kind of protect perceived value, even if it's not the intent, you know? Do you see what I'm kind of getting at?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we could talk, maybe not during this meeting, but we could try to draft something and look at it.
Yeah, that
we
would
wanted
go a
to-
long way. That would go a long way for me in addressing the only question I had on all of this. So I really appreciate that.
And so that Andrew is also probably the role that your realtor would play in educating prospective buyers. And so,
Yeah.
and I know that's not the same as what if somebody's looking at it, but if they're at the point where they're checking on the deed recordings, then they're probably at the point where they're talking to your realtor too. So
Yeah.
it would be a role that they would be able to play.
Although some realtors aren't as up to speed on septic or well either, but yeah, understood.
Well,
That-
Andrew,
that's
when the time comes, hire local.
Yeah, if the time comes higher local, that makes a difference. I agree. I'm cognizant that we are behind on our 7:30, and so if the board is ready, I think we should make our deed recording motion.
Okay.
So Daryl or Mark, are we having two separate motions for two separate deed recordings? Or we're doing one deed recording that both deed restricts this to not be a bedroom and that this will not be counted in the room count, the two finished spaces. Since they're
In the
two
past,
rooms.
it's always been one deed recording that addresses finished basement rooms. But you
And-
would add that there are two basement rooms being deed
There are two rooms.
recorded.
Okay, I was trying to do a distributive property here and figure out if we were doing it for separate for rooms. Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the building application for 26 Coursebrook Road conditional to the receipt of a deed recording for the two finished spaces in the basement level, that they not be bedrooms and not count as the room count, in the room count.
Okay, so moved.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Further discussion or friendly amendments? Hearing none.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
All right.
Okay, so
good
we
luck,
can
Mr.
get you the copy of the standard deed recording, but we can also, although not immediately. Yep. To what date it would be, since tomorrow's a holiday and for town staff. I don't know what your timeline is like. You want to move ahead with the standard deed recording, or if it's okay if we take a bit to try to craft something?
I think if you want to take a couple of days, that would be fine with the way I've sort of built in the time for this. I think I have a couple of weeks left on the permit without adjusting the schedule. And then time after
Okay.
that to mobilize people.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be very much appreciated, Daryl. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We
All
are
right.
late for our 7:30.
Yeah.
At 7:30
And
we have
Steve,
on our
I'm going to
agenda,
let you pull up files. I'm just going to stop sharing.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we have Mr. Bartlett here, Mark Bartlett here as our health agent for Lot 565 Farm Road. We have a new well and septic application before us. Why don't we pull up, Mark, would you like a memo in front of you or a plan in front of you? What would be helpful? Oh, you're muted, Mark.
The plan, I believe, yeah.
Perfect. Steve, do you have the plan available?
If you don't, I can pull it up, but I just didn't know if your
I've got
connection
this.
is better than
Which one are we calling out?
For Lot 5.
Lot 5.
It's revised as of June 17th.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you, Mark and Bob, for your patience as we are already behind schedule.
Problem.
All right, can folks see that?
Yes,
Yeah.
can you make it a little bit bigger, Steve,
Yeah,
please?
let me do that. Oh. And you want me to zoom in on a specific area?
I think that's fine. That's fine. Um, so, yeah, that's fine. This is lot 5. And it's an irregular shaped lot, but that is what it is. Our review, we had a review letter, I believe it was June 13th, and then the applicant came back with responses on the 17th of June. We had, I believe, a total of 8 comments on this plan. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we had 8 comments. Some of them were pretty routine, such as the proper placement of benchmarks when they finally build the system. Some of the concerns we had were it's a long run from the septic tank down to the leaching field. It's a downhill run. And there was no definition of the pipe slopes, pipe lengths, locations had to be clarified. So that was several of our comments related to that. They've responded to that properly. Everything is properly located now. The distances all check out. As you come out of the septic tank, there's a drop of about 167 feet to a clean out, which is perfectly fine, as long as the clean out that rises to the surface is properly located and there's a box that can be found, and you take the cover off the box and you unscrew the top of the pipe, and then a plumber can clean it out if there should be any blockage. It's probably pretty unlikely, given that it's a pretty good sleigh ride from the septic tank down to the field. One of the concerns, of course, is just the velocity of sewage as it comes down those pipes. But there is a drop manhole. It's about 127 feet back from the next clean out. And that drop manhole is well designed, and it'll break the energy of the flow coming down. So in effect, once it comes out of that drop manhole, it's literally like having a 127-foot run, which is not unusual. To the distribution box, another clean out, and then into the distribution box and the 5 leaching trenches. We checked it against the soils reports. We checked against the estimated high groundwater levels. Everything checks out. There's a retaining wall that we questioned down on the lower south, I guess it's the southeast corner. And it's not a field or a retaining wall that affects the field in any sense of holding the field up. In fact, it's above the field and holds the topography back so the field can be fairly level. And the only concern we had was that be properly designed by a structural engineer in combination with a complete geotechnical evaluation for the wall, because you don't want that slipping and failing down onto your septic system leaching area. And no one wants that. And I also would ask the building inspector or someone to just check. They normally do. If you have more than a certain height, you have to have a railing of some kind. And I'm sure that'll all come out during the process of getting that wall permitted through the building inspector. But the board, of course, now knows about this, and it's in your memo from us. It's something to track. I think
Yeah, Mark,
go ahead.
sorry, could you just point out, I'm having trouble on this, the page that we're currently on. I'm
Right.
just trying to identify, I know the profile of the retaining wall. I'm trying to identify the location of the retaining wall, if you can,
Well,
relative to the leaching field.
It's in the lower part, Julie, if I could grab the cursor, I would, but perhaps,
You're welcome to screen share if it is easier for you.
perhaps
I'm
Bob,
gonna leave.
or
Is it
whoever's
this
running.
curved wall?
Yeah, just show the wall location, please.
Yeah,
Right,
this curved wall, correct?
correct, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so it curves around. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's what I suspected, but I wanted to confirm that with you. Thank you very much.
It's it's a wall with a 2-to-1 slope coming down, which is fine. Again, it just has to be properly designed.
No.
The only comment I believe that we had after that wasn't fully resolved, let me pull up my sheet here. It had to do with comment number 3. And I don't know if Bob or his engineer want to address this, but comment number 3, it had to do with the remove and replace definition on the plan.
Yeah, Mark, not to interrupt, but we sent you an email or rather I sent, well, not you, I sent it to Julie, and I copied you at 3:30 with some language for your review. Were you able to receive that?
I'm opening it now. And I'm looking
We,
at it
we
now.
proposed language for you, but obviously we're open to, if you want to tweak it, that's fine.
Let's see.
And Kevin, who designed the system, is on the call tonight, so he could also answer a more technical question if it comes up.
I'm going to just say, Bob, I have noticed we've had an email issue in town hall recently.
Oh,
And
really?
there are a
Okay.
few emails that, thanks to our assistant administrator forwarding them to me, it did not come through from you to me.
Huh,
I had
okay.
no idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is, and you said you sent one today at 3:30?
Yeah, so comment number 3, which was the one remaining issue, I believe, Mark.
Yeah.
I responded at 3:30 with some very specific language for your consideration. I can read it to you if you like.
Oh, no, I've got it and I've read it and I'm fine
You
with
have
it.
it, Mark. Okay, good.
Oh, okay, good,
I'm
Thank
good,
you.
just
great.
concerned if the Board of Health and Julia and Daryl don't have this, or,
Yeah, no, I'm particularly concerned that there are emails potentially that are not coming through, because that is alarming to me. How would I know I'm not
Well,
getting?
yeah, and also, Julie, you asked me to send the revised plan to you that we
Yes.
sent yesterday. And I did you receive
So I received, when I asked our assistant administrator to forward it to me, because she said it came through and it had not come through. So this is just something that is internal to
Yeah,
in town,
okay.
I think. And but that's why I'm asking clarifications of when was it
Yeah,
sent,
yeah,
because I'm
no,
trying
I
to figure out what
understand.
I'm missing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't mean to distract. So Mark, the revision of regulatory note number 8 relative to the removal and replacement of topsoil and subsoil, you have received a language proposal for this?
yes, and I've read that just now and it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
When that email does come to you, if you don't get it, have Bob send it to you again, or I'll forward what I have.
Okay,
Come into me. I will explain for the benefit of the board. If you could go down to whoever's controlling the sheet, go down to page, I think it's 3. Keep going, right there, and then move over, no, back up. And go up a page, right there, perfect. And if you could zoom in on the leaching trench area, which is to the right-hand side of that, right there. So I guess the main concern was that, as unusual as it might be in Sherborn, the sea horizon, the soils that the leaching trench is intended to be in, are very suitable. You know, it'd be a shame to take those out and substitute Title V sand, which is, number one, it's an added expense, but number two, the existing soils are going to provide better treatment. So the main thrust of all this back and forth, and then Bob has adequately responded to, is remove the topsoil and the subsoil, get the system in place, and make sure that the trench is in the existing sea horizon soils. End of story. There's no need to remove and replace sea horizon soils with Title V sand. That's silliness. And it actually results in a system that's not, I just don't think it will treat the effluent as well. So, but to the extent that there's any A or B soils that happen to be down in that zone, they have to come out and be replaced with Title V sand to a distance of 5 feet around the trench. Once you get down in there, if you find something unusual, and that's always a standard wording in those notes, you know, a boulder, for example, has to come out. Any unusual material that might show up, not likely, but if it's there, it has to come out. And those are just precautions that you take during construction. I suppose something can happen. Let's say the hole is opened up. It really shouldn't be left open. But if the hole is opened up and there's a storm and something washes down in there, that material should come out. You know, if there's loam or topsoil or anything that's not appropriate gets down into the area where you're installing a trench, you should remove it. In any event, the note is good. I believe that was the only issue they hadn't adequately responded to, and now they have. So system here at Lot 5 is fine. Complies with Title V, complies with Sherborn Board of Health.
Thank you, Mark. Steve.
If the board has any other questions or issues that they want to raise.
Steve, could you go to page 2? Sorry, Steve, it took me a minute to remember who was controlling the screen.
It's not me.
Hang on, go to the bottom of the page, please, the trench profile.
The cross section.
Cross section, I'm sorry, yes. Below the test pit data?
Yeah,
Can you go further, scroll to further down on that same page? Yes.
Here.
Oh, hang on, too far.
it's
There you
true.
go. Can
Okay.
you zoom in a little bit too?
I can.
Thank you.
Uh,
One thing I noted, and I think that this would be an important change on the plan here. Above the pipe and the trench, it notes 36 inches max of cover, where our local regulation requires a minimum of 12 inches and a maximum of 24 inches. And so the 9 plus 4, that gets us above 12, which is great, and below 24, but 36 would not be permissible here. And so one of the things that I would want to see changed is that this says 24 instead of 36 max. Does that, Bob, I'm sorry, you have I think someone from DGT is here, Kevin. Are other people seeing that as well?
I looked at that because Daryl mentioned it to me earlier. First of all, that's what you're seeing here is Title V, and I wasn't aware. I have to confess, I had a checklist for Sherborn, and Sherborn, the checklist I had said 9 inches to 36 inches, but that's obviously obsolete.
Okay. Sounds like we have a checklist problem. I appreciate you notifying us, Mark. Thank you.
It's but 24 is what, if you look at the actual profile, they had 24 inches shown, or 2 feet.
Yep.
In their profile as it's designed. But I think it's appropriate for you to change that if the town says 24 inches max, that should say.
Yeah. Right. So I
I
think
didn't catch that, but
so that
And the
would
purpose of that is for air exchange
yes,
through
otherwise,
the soil.
you get too deep, you need to have a vented system.
Mhm.
And I
This is the,
just caught that today as I was going through the plan. And I agree, in the cross-section, it does show. Actually, Steve, I just want to make sure I am reading the cross-section correctly. Steve, stay on the same page, same bottom of that page. Scroll so we see the left-hand corner, please. To the profile of the trenches. Excellent. And I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly because it's slightly ambiguous. The existing grade is the hashed line and the proposed grade is the solid line. Is that correct?
That's correct, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, which does make sense, and it is showing 2 feet. Excellent.
Yep.
And I think one of the practical questions that I had, or 2 practical questions that I had in looking at the system, is kind of given the drop, and maybe for this, Steve, could you actually go down to the 3rd page, 1 page down? I think it just will show better. Yep. When you look at what will be the lie of the land once this is installed, I'm thinking about the challenge of establishing vegetation over top of the system once installed. And as you know, mature vegetation is required in order to receive a certificate of compliance. I'm wondering about establishing that, particularly whatever you put on there, whether it's grass or a wildflower meadow or whatever it might be, it needs to be watered. And that's a pretty, what is it, over 400 feet run? I'm just wondering practically how that will be done.
Yeah, there's actually, Julie, a well on the property right now, which is kind of up at the top of the hill. So that's how I would propose watering it. But in any case, it might be challenging, but it's a doable thing.
is this scale exaggerated? Let me see. Sometimes engineers put a factor of 10 on the vertical versus horizontal. Yeah, if you look at the surface grade, I'm sorry, if you look at the horizontal scale, vertical scale for that profile, the horizontal is 20 feet to the inch and the vertical is 4 feet to the inch. So
it looks much hillier than it actually
yes, it makes it look far more dramatic than it really is by a
Oh,
factor.
I'm sorry, Julie, were you concerned about the slope or about the ability to get water down there to get it going?
I think it's both, actually.
both. Mark
Okay.
preempted my second question.
Yeah, I don't think the slope is an issue at all. I do think that, you need several long hoses to get down there for sure.
Yes, yep, that's what I wanted to make sure that there was a viable plan.
Yeah.
And I think that Mark,
I just,
yeah.
just before we move away from the whole watering issue, so are you planning to install the septic system before you sell the property?
I don't know the answer to that, Daryl. If that question was for me, yeah, I was confused.
Yeah.
You said Mark, you meant Bob, I assume.
Oh, did I say Mark? I'm sorry. I think I said, do you mean to sell?
Yeah,
Whatever.
so the answer to your question,
you're not
Daryl,
sure.
is, and I'm not being disingenuous. I honestly don't know whether I'll build the home or whether I'll sell it to somebody else to build the home. And as you know, I can't build a septic system until I've put in the sequence that you all require is to put in the well first. But I don't think that watering the grass down on that field, that's not at the top of my concerns. It's doable. It'll be a pain in the butt, but it's doable.
Okay. Oh, so you said that there's a well already there, but it's not on this property?
That's
You
correct.
mentioned putting
That's
in-
correct. There's a well up on the flat, what's called remaining land. There's a well up there from the farm.
Okay.
Yeah. that probably will be abandoned at some point if, but it's there now.
And so then the second part of that question, and it looks like Mark has partially helped us with it, with the exaggerated scale, is, you know, how are you going to then maintain the vegetation? You can certainly let something grow, but you do have to eventually make sure there are not woody plants coming in over the system.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I'm looking at that terrain and imagining whether it's a homeowner trying to get a mower down there, or a tractor, or a landscaper, and I just want to make sure that this is doable for the future owner of this property.
Sure, yeah. I mean, when we build it, we will create access to it. That'll be a requirement, obviously. We can't build it without getting equipment down there. And if we can get big equipment down there to build the system, then we'll be able to get small equipment down to mow the lawn, right? I mean,
All right, so you will be accessing it from this parcel as opposed to an abutting parcel. Do the system, is what you're saying?
well, in the long run, it will be accessed by the parcel. Yes, absolutely.
But to build it,
You know, how I,
Will you
whether
be
Daryl, I
access-
built it by crossing my own land, I don't know.
I know, but
Obviously,
you
I
just
haven't come up
mentioned
with
that the
that
way
plan,
that the
because it
future
is,
owners will be able to access that would be via the parcel, because there would already have been a route established, but that sounds like not
Yeah.
a definite based on your second comment.
well, to build the
Um,
pipe down there will take work, right? Will take clearing the land to lay that pipe down on that property. So I don't know what to say, Daryl. We will be able to maintain
Okay.
it. We will create the ability to maintain it.
Sorry, but this is just such a complicated property for the long term. That's some of our concerns, but it's what we have to work with. That's not under our
Yeah,
control. to
and
change the
I
layout,
agree.
and it's very restrictive and complicated.
I do agree with you on that. You know, the reason that the lot is irregular in the ways that it's irregular, and the reason the septic system is where it is because it's very difficult to find good soils in Sherborn, as we all know, that meet the local requirements. The local requirements are very demanding. And the reason the septic system is where it is, and people know this, the local requirements could not be met in other areas. Otherwise, it would be a much more typical looking location of a septic system to a house. But, and you know, your rules are what they are, but we all know they're very, very challenging. And that's why.
They are not extremely challenging, but they are important for.
Okay, well, I didn't come to debate that. What I'm trying to explain is why the septic system is where it is because we got really, really good soils down there.
That I certainly agree with. It's the soil, the location of the SAS is appropriate for the site conditions there.
Mhm.
I would respectfully disagree, and we will not get into this because it's not relevant.
That's fine.
Is
It's
the-
not a
the
good
house
night to debate public
The house
policy. I
location
agree.
could certainly be closer to the SAS, is I think the point that Daryl is also making, is that there's no reason the house location has to be there. It could be moved closer, was I think her take home point. For the rest of the board, questions about the plan before us, before we go to any if there are any public questions, comments. So I guess that'd be Diana and Steve, if you guys have any questions or clarifications.
I mean, just from looking at the plan, that the way I understand it, it's 100% gravity feed. That's correct?
Yes. It's 100% gravity feed.
And tangential to that, I had asked Mark about the force of the water traveling downhill and towards the components of the system. And so, Mark, if you could just go over that, because it was a
Sure.
helpful
We looked at
information that you mentioned.
it is a long run. And you know, the slopes aren't excessive, but the most important aspect of the design, and it's a positive aspect, is there's this proposed manhole that's 127 feet back from the leaching field. I mentioned this in my summary. And that's a drop manhole. It has a special design to allow the water and the sewage to come down, and it drops down a good, I'd have to look at the profile again. I think it was like 8 feet, maybe more. And it drops down to a slope that approaches the field. I think it's like a 1% slope. I think the detail for that is on the last sheet.
This
I-
one,
I'm-
proposed manhole?
Yes, that manhole, correct,
Yeah,
yes.
it's 8 feet, 8-foot drop.
And it's properly detailed. The engineering is done on that. There's a proper detail showing how you build those. It's not just simply dumping down into there's a pipe that goes down and discharges in a very controlled way. It's not splashing down that distance. It's coming down a pipe and going back out properly. All I can tell you is that it's not unusual. We've seen it before. It's really acceptable design. I'll also point out that the overall slope from the house elevation down to the field it's a drop of about 28 feet over about a distance of 440 feet, and that's about a 6.5% slope, which is not extreme. It seems in this figure to be more extreme than it is. I'm not saying it's to be ignored. I think when they put in the trench and they put this pipe in and they backfill the trench, I'd recommend they have some kind of erosion control matting, preferably organic. That's even better yet, has seeds in it that can be put on top of the trench to make sure it stabilizes quickly. And you don't get erosion. But that's something that a good contractor should do anyway. It's not something that should fall under the Board of Health's purview here, frankly. So Bob, there's a word to the wise there.
Thank you, Mark. That
Appreciate it.
was a helpful explanation. Steve or Diana, did you guys have further questions? I'm sorry, I
I'm
actually
good.
can't. Oh, okay, now I can see you if I toggle through. Any abutters have questions?
Hi, Brian. I'm sorry, I can't find how to raise my hand here. But
Go ahead, Brian, and please identify yourself.
Brian Moore, I own, my wife and I own 49 Farm Road. We're direct abutters to this system. So I had a couple of observations and just questions, and I wanted to put them in front of the board. The first one is about the sequence of the permitting. And I believe that this lot went through A&R about a week ago. Is that right, Bob? Or I'm sorry, about a week ago, it went through A&R. And at the time the A&R went through, there was a question, my wife and I had a question about whether all the owners of the land subject to the A&R had signed off on it, because I believe that there was a deed which predated the A&R submittal selling 55 Farm, which is the direct abutter to this line. So the lot lines that are on the A&R there came off of a plan that was approved, that at the time, I'm not sure the applicant owned the land. So there's that. I don't know what those implications are, but it would seem like if this is being permitted based on those lot lines, and those lot lines legally are in jeopardy or weren't correct, maybe that's something you guys should not, have some kind of contingency for that or contingency planning. So there's that. Number two, there's this, all these profiles about where the existing land is, where land is being raised. And I don't really, I'm not sure I fully understand what the standard is for a raised septic system. But on 53 Farm Road, which was constructed 2 years ago on another lot that was carved out of this parcel, we were told that it was, a by right development. And once approval was issued, truckload after truckload after truckload of material was brought onto the site and raised the grade around that septic system substantially. Now, I was under the impression that the only situation in Sherborn where you're allowed to put in a raised septic would be a repair. So if this grade is getting raised over any portions of the system, I'm not sure that that's allowed per the regs, but that's for you as a board to discuss and figure out, not me. The third issue is this is a long run through a hill with a lot of ledge and bedrock and boulders. I haven't heard anyone, I didn't log in at the very first, but I haven't heard any contingencies about bedrock and about what happens if you encounter bedrock. And that's a grave concern for me, and ties into my fourth point, which is that this very location that this ginormous septic is being proposed for is the same location that was subject to, 2 years of permitting in front of this board for a septic system that was going to be for a 40B. And there were meetings after meetings after meetings about the nitrate load that was going to go into the ground here. And the fact that this is not a 40B, but is rather I don't know how many bedroom, but a big 8-bedroom house or something like that, doesn't alleviate my concerns related to nitrates going into, I'm looking out the window at it right here, going right in the ground over there, which is right on top of bedrock. My well's in rock, 55's in rock, 53's in rock, 65's in rock, and everyone across the street is in the rock. And our well screens are down a couple 100 feet. Anything that gets constructed over here will be hydraulically upgrading from those well intakes. And we were told by an expert who we spent well into the 5 figures with that our well was going to sour as the result of the construction that has already been done right here, right now. That's without anyone putting any more septics in across the property line. The only place left on our lot to put a well, if our well fouls, or when I say when our well fouls, is right down gradient from the septic. And I'm super concerned that there's no modeling about nitrates or nitrates loading in this area. And knowing that there's a surface water stream that comes down and across the property line, I'm out, this is our yard. I know this topography. I'm a geologist. This is not my first rodeo. I am super concerned about nitrates in the bedrock. And I haven't heard anyone speaking about what contingencies exist for me or the owner of 55 or 53 or 63 or 61 or across the street when our wells start to foul from the loading that's going on. This is just adding one more septic into an overloaded area. These are the headwaters of Sewell Brook. This is just upgrading from the zone 2 for town wells. It's in the radius of influence for my well. It's in the radius of influence for all these other wells. And I really, really would like this board to consider long and hard what these implications are. This is the third, fourth, fifth well septic being proposed by the applicant on this land. At what point in time are we going to have him look at the cumulative effects? There are conditions in your regs for EHIR. He hasn't done it. He doesn't want to do it. He avoids it. He's avoiding stormwater by this piecemeal approach. I would really, really like to see a comprehensive permitting approach for what is a comprehensive phase development of the property next door. Thank you.
For your last point, Brian, we will at least touch upon and revisit what our regulation does say. I was going to go through, we also have before us and will come up next is a revision to the lot lines for lots 3 and 4. And just because we will then have reviewed a comprehensive picture, we were going to note that. But I will let if anyone else from the board has any response to that or any thoughts. I think we
I
should.
agree with your concerns that you have about all of these systems being located in one area. And unfortunately, since most of our septic regulations that we enforce here in Sherborn are related to Title V, and Title V never really anticipated this kind of situation where multiple septic systems would be located so closely together, thereby not having, not that dilution is supposed to be the solution to pollution, but there was an assumption about things being spread out differently than what's happening here. And so our regulations haven't been able to keep up with that. We do have our EHIR provision, and it's on the horizon that I did see in one of the emails recently that there's lots 6 and 7 that may be coming. And this is a project in our eyes and the eyes of others. So that will trigger those requirements. And what else was I going to say? I would advise that neighbors make sure that you have your water tested so you have a baseline before all of this goes into effect. And unfortunately, that may be the one path of some kind of recourse for any negative impacts that take place for your water quality. And I know that's not the ideal answer, but that is where we are right now.
Okay. Well, Daryl, since you've beat me to it, it's a little different sequence than what I had thought. We will note, and this was the note that I was referring to, Brian. Lots 3, 4, and 5 are accessed via a common driveway, which is shared infrastructure. And we had a discussion about this back in the fall. I can't remember the exact meeting. It was in the fall. And in order to trigger a project status under our regulations, lots have to be contiguous, and they have to have some type of common infrastructure, which a shared driveway would qualify as such. Lots 3 and 4 are each proposed as 5 bedrooms respectively. And this lot 5 is proposed as 8 bedrooms, which brings the total project gallons per day volume to 18 beds or 1,980 gallons, which is 20 gallons shy of our black and white regulatory threshold of 2,000 GPD. And so what that functionally means is if there is one additional bedroom proposed, that would then trigger the EHIR regulation, one more bedroom proposed on the common infrastructure. I was hoping that we can table that for a second because I want to have a discussion as a board to generate any questions that we may have that we need to follow up on, because I certainly have a few. I want to revisit just to note, because I think, Brian, this is a very good point. Steve, can you go to page 3 where we have the profile of the system? And can you lower right-hand corner where the actual trenches are going in? And I think it's important to note that this is not a mounded system, which I agree is not permitted under our local regulations. And so if you follow the existing grade versus the proposed grade, the trench, the system itself is going into the existing soils. I know Mark touched on this. The proposed grade above the system is what's being, it's what's being changed, not and it's not, the change is not being done where the actual trenches are going. Mark might be able to say that more eloquently than me. In fact, I'm sure he will. But this would not qualify as a mounted system.
Not known to.
Okay, I think that was an important detail. But yes, there's certainly a decent amount of land being moved around. Any other board members have any comments or any additional abutters? And if you are raising your hand and you're not being acknowledged, please unmute yourself, because then it just means we're having trouble seeing you. Okay, I'm not hearing or seeing any hands.
I'll mention that on the any bedrock that's encountered along the way, so the installation of this will be observed by a health agent, and therefore if bedrock is encountered and it trips the threshold for our bedrock disruption regulations, then things will need to pause and notification will need to be made to abutters. And that goes for pretty much any system, anything unexpected that hadn't been anticipated during the subsurface investigations that needs to be dealt with. We've seen systems that encountered ledge where they didn't expect it, and the system might be reconfigured or relocated. So that is standard practice.
Okay,
And I guess I'll also note, so I don't forget, that Conservation Commission had not received this plan with the new lot lines. However, they don't anticipate that it's going to be an issue, but their official approval has not yet come through. And they do also note that if there were issues, that they have authority to issue stop work orders if needed.
We've talked about the disposal works application and the plan. I just want to check in to see from Mark if there were any particular notes or comments about the well. I didn't see any in your memo, and therefore I was assuming that meant there were no concerns, but I just wanted to confirm that.
Didn't see lots 3 and 4 or 5 any problems. All the setbacks are properly defined and met. There are no issues in the well locations.
Sounds good. So it sounds like we can approve the well application for lot 5 as is with no conditions. That is what I'm hearing?
Well,
For the well, yes.
Yeah.
I'm parsing out. We have 2 applications. I'm looking at approval. I'm taking the easy one first.
yeah, no, that's something the board has seen that I haven't, but I believe they're meeting all the requirements.
Brian, we were about to craft a motion, but if I was just delayed in seeing your hand from when I was asking for more, any additional comments, I'll certainly let you comment if I was delayed in seeing you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Bob mentioned that there was a well up on the land, and I thought that there was a prohibition against having 2 wells on a parcel.
Absolutely is. I believe Bob's description was that the existing well is not on the proposed lot before us.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Is it on lots 3 or 4?
My
It's on the
understanding
remaining
was
land?
it is not on any proposed lot that has come before our board. Bob, can you confirm if I'm saying that correctly?
That's correct, Julie.
Okay. So the remaining portion of land within this larger parcel is where that existing well lies, is my understanding. Does that, I hope that I think that's, Bob is nodding yes, and hopefully that is clarifying for Brian as well. All right, do I have a motion to approve the well application for lot 5, 65 Farm Road as proposed?
So moved.
Seconded. And I do have a comment.
Further
Um,
discussion and friendly amendments are always welcome.
Okay, since the well is on the same plan as the septic, and I would like to see two changes. One, the adjustment of the 36 inches down to 24 inches for the cover over the system. And the other is that, and maybe Mark Bartlett would be able to share the email with the new language proposed by Bob, since the board hasn't seen that yet. And that should also be added to the plan. So I would think we would need to make the well approval conditional to receipt of the revised plan.
Should
with
we,
those additions?
is it the sequencing, Daryl? Would it be better to address the disposal works application with conditions first? I'm trying to understand if you want to add conditions to the motion for approval of the well. Maybe I am parsing them out differently than you are in your mind. And I'm wondering if it's because I'm taking the easy one first. We can go to the hard one first. That's okay. Not the hard, the more complex one. Would that be better? I will
Yes,
rescind
it
my
could also
motion.
be done at the time of plan approval. And we wouldn't release the plan that has both the well and the septic on it. That would be another approach.
Julie, I've never seen you separate the two. When new construction, I've always seen you vote in one motion to cover.
In one
both.
motion for both the well and the subject. Okay.
That's the way I've always seen you do it.
That's perfectly fine. I might be just parsing this out in my own mind differently. That's Daryl, I think that's what you're telling me too. So I'm going to rescind my motion. Let's then address as a board the conditions. I'm just going to review them before we make a motion. So a condition for the disposal works permit. We want to see an updated trench profile showing no more than 24 inches of finished grade over the disposal area. And that was on page 2, what we noted. We want to see the, I believe that the revision that we're asking for these tweaks will be the third revision. And so we are asking for the revision fee for this will be the third revision. The dollar amount, I don't know what that is. I would have to ask. I think it's like $300. 3 would be a garbage grinder deed restriction. Daryl,
That's
4,
already complete.
Should be
4 or 5 for lot 5.
Julie, the garbage grinder deed restriction is already in place. It's been recorded.
For lot 5.
Correct. And sent to you. Yes.
Oh, and forgive me, I'm pretty sure it's lot 5, but one of them has a date of approval of December 4th, 2025. Sorry, I don't have them open right now. There is an error on one of the deed restrictions, garbage grinder deed restrictions.
Good. So
That
Daryl,
was just dropped off yesterday or today, something like that.
they were corrected. There were problems with those dates and they were corrected.
And I know that
No,
was
they were
lots 3 and
swapped. Now
4.
one of them says 25 instead of 24. I could look for it, but I don't have
Okay,
it open right now.
whatever. Julie, I want to retract what I said. I don't believe there is I'm going to have to double check on because I couldn't have filled it out because you haven't approved it. So I
Yeah,
apologize.
That's why I was really
No,
surprised.
I
Okay.
apologize. Three
Okay.
and four have been recorded. Yes.
Right. And then I know we've received those. I did not look. in
Jean
detail through-
reviewed them before I recorded them.
Right. I just haven't. And as I said, I've also
I
had an
understand.
email glitch. So I'm
totally
trying
fine.
to fill in the pieces here.
Totally fine.
Okay, so we're back to, I'm going through a list of conditions. So revision for the 24 inches of cover, payment of the
Agreed.
revision fee, receipt of the garbage grinder deed restriction. What I was asking was, Daryl, because I am unclear about, I know you were confirming with Conservation Commission, is there a condition about anything relative to their approval?
I have an
think we
administrative
should-
approval from them.
That was my understanding, but I was just trying to understand if there was, again, something that I have missed in the
I
interim.
spoke with Joyce this afternoon and she said Concom is all set on all 3 lots. I spoke with Joyce about 4:30 this afternoon. But for lot 5, which is what's before you at this very
Yes.
moment, there is an administrative approval that was delivered to you long ago. You wouldn't have looked
Yep.
at the plan without having the administrative approval.
Right, and I know there was an AA for this lot.
Yes, that's correct.
That's why I'm trying to clarify.
Yep.
And yeah, but it's something that's out of sequence for them. That's all I can say. And where exactly to draw the line, I think they feel because they have the stop work order ability that it could be approvable, whether we need a condition.
I will repeat, I spoke to Joyce Hastings, the conservation agent, at 4:30 this afternoon, and she told me Concom was all set on all 3 lots. But lot 5 in particular has an AA, and that was provided to you, and it's done.
I saw
And
that.
as town that works together between departments, between this afternoon and now is not always enough time to get messages between departments. So we need to uphold our other departments on what they're trying to do and make sure that we are reinforcing one another. So that's the issue.
I
And
don't
maybe it's a
understand
non-issue,
why,
so
I
we
don't
could do-
understand
how
why you're
about if we
getting into
do-
the Conservation
excuse me, can
Commission
I-
business tonight when you're the Board of Health.
I couldn't hear what you were saying because I was busy talking. So why don't you say what you said and then I'll get back to what I was going to propose.
I said that there is 0 issue with the Conservation Commission. I spoke with Joyce about it at 4:30 this afternoon. And if there's
I
an
heard that.
issue, now let me please finish. And if there is an issue in the future with the Conservation Commission is a very powerful regulatory body in town, and they will work with me and I will work with them. But as of this moment, there are no issues. Joyce has confirmed that everything is fine. And I've met your regulation, which is I've given you the administrative approval that you require in your regs. You have that.
And
So Julie, again, in the spirit of us collaborating with other departments, all we need to do is maybe condition it to confirmation with Conservation Commission that we may move ahead. We need to do that directly.
And then we will do that via written email for our records. And then Bob, we can just notify you once we have that.
I mean, I can't stop you from doing that, Julie. You're overstepping your regulatory bounds, but you're going to do it, I know, so I'll stop talking.
It's an administrative matter as well.
Yeah, I
Or
think it's
one.
a timing thing. I think if we did not have this last back and forth, that I think it's a timing thing, and maybe it was an email thing. Okay, so this will be confirmation, confirmation of approval. I mean, I know we have approval. I think, Daryl, I'm struggling how to word this one because I don't think I fully understand it.
Just confirmation from Conservation Commission that they have no outstanding issues
With
Okay.
lot 5.
regarding this lot.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
that will not be any kind of significant delay if things are as you have relayed, Bob.
yeah, that's just a simple email. Okay. There will be a condition relative to Mark's comment number 1 pertaining to the benchmarks, that benchmarks will be set. And when we do the motion, I'll read that out, but that is fairly standard pro form. There will be a condition that in the 3rd revision of this plan, that the regulatory note 8, this is relative to Mark's comment number 3, that the revised language that was sent is incorporated on the plan. I can't reference it because I don't have it in front of me. But that would be
Actually,
part-
Steve, if you can stop sharing, and Mark, if you would be able to just share that with us so we can see
Sure,
it. and
yeah, I'll give
We
it a
have it.
shot.
yes.
Yeah.
And my apologies for the hassle, but I can't help if there's something not coming through.
I think I'm sharing the screen now. I'm not sure. But
Yes.
Yeah, you
this
could
is
make
the
it a little
email.
larger.
Yep,
Oh, wait, maybe
God, I never got.
Is that? That's as big as I
Thank you.
can make it. That is the note. It was an email, as Bob said today. It was, it looks like it came in at 3:29 p.m.
Yeah, and I certainly never received an email at 3:29 p.m.
He's revising regulatory number 8, which is fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. And then he also puts in here to update note 2C2, Roman numeral 2, letter C, number 2 on sheet Board of Health 2 to reference the 2 notes that are here and update the profile on sheet BO3 accordingly. So I think as long as those revisions are made in their final plan submittal, I think for us to read this or you to describe it down, it would be kind of
Yeah,
silly. I think you should just wait till you get the email. You can check it against
Okay.
the plan.
oh, perfect. So
Good
we'll call
call.
it the described revised language for regulatory note 8.
As per his email of today at 3:29 p.m.
Yep. 6:18. Okay. Were there other those were the conditions that I had outlined.
Julie, could I just clarify one thing? The revision that will be simply the updating of this language as you've asked for on the fly this evening will be the second revision of the plan. So whatever the fee is for a second revision
Thank
is
you.
what's appropriate.
Yep. It is a second revision. I agree. And
I think that's a little to just change some language and not anything on the plan, but whatever. I'll write the check.
But the additional change that we're asking is for the trench profile to make that accurate, to not say 36 inches.
Right. But I guess my point, Julie, is that if you told me that in the last 14 hours, it would have been in this revision, and it seems a little unfair, but I'm not gonna obviously fight you on it. It's just not, you know, you had a lot of time to review this plan and it could have been incorporated, but like I said, whatever, I'll write the check.
Thank you. Okay, are there any additional conditions from the board members before I attempt to put these together into a motion?
Nothing else.
Did I cover them all? Okay. I move that we approve the well and disposal works application for lot 565 Farm Road, conditional to one, an updated trench profile showing no more than 24 inches of finished grade over the disposal area. 2, receipt of a second revision fee for the incorporating changes here within. 3, receipt of the garbage grinder deed restriction. 4, confirmation from the Conservation Commission that they have no outstanding issues with lot 5. 5, I'm going to read this directly from Mark's notes. 5, that benchmarks are set with elevations by the surveyor of record with witness stakes prior to the start of construction and visible to the board at pre-construction inspection and shall remain through the end of construction.
Julie, you forgot the change to note 8.
And that's what I was doing right next.
Oh, okay.
Number
I
6.
thought
I'm
you
getting
stopped.
there. I'm going slow. And 6 is the revision to regulatory note 8, incorporating the revised language per the emails sent from the applicant to our agent today, June 18th. That's my completed motion. That's
So
all 6.
moved.
Seconded.
Further discussion from the board? Hearing none.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
And is there another component that we're missing here for lot 5? Or have we covered everything? We've approved we need to approve the plan as well, correct, Daryl?
Excuse me?
Daryl, have I covered all of my bases with lot 5? I'm sorry, we've been circling back and forth. I want to make sure I have everything done with lot 5. I'm double checking with you.
Yes, I believe so. And actually, I'm going to say this now. It applies to every property that it's built. So on this plan was information about depth to groundwater for the house location. Because we do want basements to stay dry and mold issues not to be a problem. So certainly if anything changes about the terrain, like there's contouring done and whatever, but that would need to be evaluated at the time that the house is going in. But that pretty much stands for any new construction, any property. The separation of groundwater has been demonstrated, but it's with the current site contours.
Okay. Next, we are going to take the revised, the revisions to the previously approved plans for lots 3 and 4. Mark, you were the agent for these, but we also said that you do not have to be present, and I recognize that this has gone longer than you probably planned for your evening. And so if you would like to log off, that is perfectly fine, but we're also not going to stop you if you prefer to stay on. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted.
I said if it's all the same to you, I'll sign off. I just didn't know if you needed me for anything else. So.
I think these are a lot more straightforward. I think I didn't have any questions, and I thought everything there was fairly cleaned up already. So I think thank you for your time, Mark. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, you too.
All right, why don't we just take them in numerical order? So Steve, do you want to pull up the revised plan for lot 365 Farm. And the board will note that we also received a short memo from Mark Bartlett, who reviewed the well and septic plan for this to confirm that there are no changes to that plan. What was submitted was a change in lot line, decreasing the square footage of the originally proposed lot. I will have to skim this to see what it was reduced to. Lot 3 contains more area, roughly 62,000 square feet more.
Yes, and also Mark Bartlett had checked over that all of the required setbacks were still in place and that the system design and other features were still compliant.
The portion of the lot line that is changed is on the easterly, so the right-hand side of the plan. And the findings were that the changes do not impact the either the well or the septic design. Those have remained the same. I can confirm that we have received the garbage grinder deed restriction for this lot. I now want to go, rather than going through my emails, I think, Daryl, I hear you saying we better double, triple check that the year is correct. For I know that there was a second submittal of the deed restriction. And
yes, and one of them had, I don't know if it was typed, it had a, you know, what you call it, a typo on it, a date, inaccurate date. So let's see if I can.
The deed restriction is valid, whether that date is in, there's a Scrivener error on the date or not. The deed restriction is valid. It is restricting.
If a future owner wanted to go to a meeting to identify the approval date, that date is currently not correct. The legal document seems like that should be correct.
Okay, well, I did have Jean review it, and I guess she and I both
Jean
made a
said that
mistake.
you offered to her that she could review it. She asked you if you filled out the things that had been missing, and you said yes, and she
Okay,
did not.
yeah, Daryl, I'm willing to make the change. Okay, let's not.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
we can do the same. We can just do the same as confirmation.
I just don't remember which one it was.
We will just say confirmation of the accuracy of the revised deed recording.
Yeah. We'll have to do it for both of them because I don't have it open right now, available right now.
I can open them right now if you want to review it now, or we can do it later.
It is 9 o'clock.
Tell us which one had the
things ahead of us.
2025.
Why don't we just, I think we should, this is just a very quick administrative check. I
agree.
I think this should just happen later. We've received payment. I think the rest of this is in order. Does anyone from the board have a question? Otherwise, we will move to approve the revision. The plan with the revised lot lines. I'm not seeing it.
Conditional to
Questions, yeah.
receipt of, or conditional to confirmation of an accurate deed recording, and if not, then to receipt of a corrected deed recording.
By the way, I just found it. It is on lot 4. It says that whereas the Board of Health, Town of Sherborn, by a decision dated, and it's written December 4th, 2025, which obviously has not occurred yet.
Mm-hmm.
I can make that change and record it for the 3rd time. I'm just not very smart.
I'm in denial. It's 2025 as well, so it's okay.
But that's on lot.
That's in lot 4. Okay, perfect. So do I have a motion to approve the revision to the approved plan for lot 365 Farm Road?
And so moved.
Second,
Further discussion? Hearing none.
Carol Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
All right, that one's done. Steve, can you pull up lot 4 plan as well, please? Oh, I'm sorry. I did not check in with a butter. I will for this one. I'm sorry. I think we'll hold off a quick second when Steve is pulling it up. So lot 4 was a previously approved plan. It was from December of 2024. Looks like this is a 5-bedroom home. It has a reduction in the lot size by roughly 50,000 square feet. The lot line has changed in the northeast and eastern portions of lot 4, which I don't see the compass rose on here, but I'm going to assume that that is the right-hand corner. And again, as per the memo from Mark Bartlett, the lot lines changed have no bearing on the already approved well and septic plan, and no changes have been made to the well and septic plan for this lot. Any board members have questions?
No.
And what I had failed to do, which I usually do, and my apologies, are there any abutters with questions? Brian
Moore has his hand up.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm trying to get my video going. So there's lot 2, which has been sold already, which is 53 Farm Road, which is located immediately out of your frame here on the left side of your screen. Had a BMP stormwater system that was installed, and an easement went in title to either one of these lots or to the remaining land that wasn't yet A&R'd for the purposes of potential stormwater tie-ins in the future. So if you count that, that's now 4 lots that are connected by some kind of common infrastructure or easement. I just wanted to point that out because, you know, you guys are talking about there being hard lines in the sand that might be crossed. If that crossed that line, then that's something that should probably warrant some further evaluation. I just wanted to put that into the record. And again, state for the record that, you know, the A&R plan on which these lines are being moved, again, is still, there's a question as to whether or not that A&R was appropriately filed if not everyone who owned the land along those lines was like represented in the application. And so I don't know if, again, you might consider putting a condition on all 3 of these, that should be verified with the planning board. And, you know, speaking to the comments earlier about Concom, my recollection of the Concom meeting for the common driveway was that this is it. There will be 2 houses. If I'm going to do anything else, I have to come back in front of you and get approval at a meeting. I was never made aware of any meeting. I'm not aware of there having been a meeting, and I'm not aware of there being approval to put a 3rd house on this driveway. So I encourage you to continue to put those contingencies in place to avoid getting caught up in some kind of sliding scale of permitting. Thank you.
Thank you for that input.
I am not aware of the B&P for lot 2, but we can look into that. Daryl, are lots 3 and 4 the ones that the revision has not been before the Conservation Commission as well, or it has been? I'm sorry, I'm getting this information fairly last minute, so I'm just trying to process and understand. It was lot 5 specifically you're referring to, or were you referring to the revisions for lots 3 and 4? Because I can very much see that this is within the Concom jurisdiction based on this plan. And so I just want to make sure that we're not getting our lots crossed.
Are you asking me? I'm really sorry if I'm.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not asking you, Brian. I'm actually asking.
Okay, thank you.
And if I'm not, no. I promise I won't ask you about that. So Daryl, the comment that you had made earlier that when we were discussing lot 5 is given that lots 3 and 4 are within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Are you
And
with the
I
comment
think the
potentially
same
that
thing
these revisions have not been before them?
I really wish we had this in writing.
Yeah.
I have a lot
So
going on.
why don't we just?
All this comes in last minute, and this is not the way to be doing it.
Yeah,
I do know that the same kind of caveat, I don't know exactly where it stands, is that they view the stop work order as their safety valve on whatever is going on. I don't know. Time to know how Concom does this, but
I don't know.
Julie,
so-
may I speak to this?
well, we didn't say anything for lot 3, so I don't know if that
Yeah.
lot 4. I think lot 3 and 4 are similar.
Yeah, I'm trying to process this as I'm learning it. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Bob.
I was
I'm
ju- I
not
was just gonna-
loving this,
I was just
and
gonna,
it is out of our normal sequence. We usually have something in writing about it, and that's what we're lacking in the effort to move this along. But it's not the best approach.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to more or less say what I said before, which is that this issue was brought up. I don't know if it was brought up by Daryl to Michael, because they're both chairs of the Conservation and the Board of Health. But Michael and Joyce spoke this afternoon, and I spoke with Joyce subsequent to that, and I was told that both Michael and Joyce were completely fine with our regulatory process, and that there were no concerns for tonight's votes by the Board of Health. I was told that's what both Michael and Joyce they spoke with each other.
I think that the question was, have the revisions been presented to them?
They certainly have seen them. Joyce and I
Okay,
have talked
perfect.
about them. Joyce
Okay.
is very aware of all of this.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've talked to Joyce every day this week so far.
Okay.
I don't think it's been before them formally in a meeting to make a final decision. I did
Okay.
not get the sense that they were concerned about it, but I cannot say what the exact thing is, because despite me knowing the Conservation Commission co-chair, we have
I
other things
understand.
going on in our lives, and we do not exchange every bit of information about town matters.
I agree. Just because you live with someone doesn't mean you actually talk to them regularly. I agree. Okay.
Or only about this.
Okay. So why don't we, Daryl, would you like, we can just add in the same confirmation from Conservation Commission that they have no outstanding issues with the revision for lot 4, or because we didn't add that in lot 3, you don't feel like it's necessary. I'm happy to do either, because it's just an email or not, but I just want to make sure that I'm meeting the wishes of this board.
I think we're probably fine either way because again, the stop work order can be implemented if they have any issues.
All right. So do I have a motion to approve the revision to the already approved plan for lot 465 Farm Road?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? Hearing none.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Oh, you're muted, Diane.
Diana Hook, aye.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. I think that that wraps up your business for tonight.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. For those who are waiting for their building application review, thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
We did not anticipate this was going to take quite so long, but we did have a scheduled appointment. Mark Oram,
Yes,
you're back. Why don't we?
too many marks in this world.
It actually makes it a lot easier when I slip up.
But anyways,
so-
I'm
Yeah.
not for sure who was in the audience for building applications. I'm not even for sure if there's anyone available for 40 Forest Street. Is there anyone available for that? If not, maybe we should try to review that at the next meeting, but I'll ask the board. I know Daryl, you've had some involvement, so I'll wait for you to maybe help me out with this.
Yeah, I think it would be better if they were present.
I agree.
Because the questions I have about the plan really need their input. So
Unless they are
if they're
present.
not present, then that one I say we move to the next meeting.
Yeah. Is anyone here for 40 Forest Street? No, I guess not.
Okay, we'll defer that to the July meeting.
One less to deal with. Now, I did see Zach. I don't know I know he was here, and I see Doug here too, Jack. And Martha Murray, I'm not for sure. We have a few building applications here, but Zach was here. I don't know if he's still with us. And I don't know if he showed up before Doug and Martha, and I'm not for sure if Martha and Doug are here for separate building applications, but I'm ready to handle the next one, which is either 19 Saddlebrook or 34 Stony Brook. We got a lot of brooks that we're dealing with tonight.
35.
And we had Course Brook as well. So if we go in the same order, I believe.
Mark, this is Doug Jack here, the architect for 19 Saddlebrook. Martha
Sure.
Murray is my client and the homeowner of 19 Saddlebrook, if you want to
Okay.
go in sequence.
Okay, so you're here for 19 Saddlebrook, and if the board's okay, it's already up on the screen. That's
Yeah.
great. So what we have here is at 19 Saddlebrook, they have a 1973 four-bedroom septic system. We actually have a disposal construction permit, even though it's quite old. We do have one that says it's a four-bedroom septic system. And I did an assessor's record check too. This house, and I don't think the new owners were involved with this, but in 1993 they had 7 rooms and 4 bedrooms. 2006 they had 9 rooms and 4 bedrooms. 2004, this is the assessor's records. 2014 they went to 10 rooms and 4 bedrooms, and that was also the same in 2025. So that's how it's being assessed. Like I say, and I went through the building applications to see if any additions were made from those years, and all they applied for was in 1997 to renovate bathrooms on the second floor, but they didn't indicate they were going to add a bedroom. And if you look at the plans, you'll see on the second floor, if you want to go to that, there are 4 bedrooms. It's the room count that's going to be the issue here. And as I say, the room count showed up in the assessor's records. So the second floor, you'll see that's small print for me. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my plans, but on the second floor, they have 4 bedrooms and then a separate office not connected to the second floor. The office can only be accessed through the first floor. And But the total room count, thank you, the total room count comes out to, there's that office over the garage, which I think you have to go through the garage to get to that office. I don't believe there's a connecting hallway between the bedrooms on the second floor. And then on the first floor is where the room count increase. So you have 5 rooms total, 4 bedrooms, 1 office over the garage. And then on the first floor is where the room count comes up. You have basically, and I'm going to get to that side of my plan too. And it's an interesting situation where they have, let me get, here it is. They have, and again, there we go. Thank you, because my eyes are playing tricks on me right now. It's just I'm not focusing too well, but you have the rooms as shown, and that's the proposal too, the L-shaped kitchen / dining area. And so that's one of the needs for discussion. I received note on this one that, they were thinking that would be 1 room. But if I count the rooms on that floor and if I include the dining room, then I have the kitchen, the dining room, over to the left, the family room, I believe, a living room. I'm sorry, I'm bearing in on it, and the entry. And then you have an office, a family room, and then the garage. So I count, it depends on how you count it. If we count the kitchen as 2 rooms, then you have 5 there as well, and then you're at your 10 rooms total. 10 or 11, depending on how you count it, because I forgot we have 5 upstairs as well. And I had noted 1, 2, yeah, it depends on how you look at the kitchen. This for a 4-bedroom, the most rooms allowed is 9 rooms. So it's a matter of trying to figure out how we're going to get to 9 rooms on this house.
And the basement status?
Is there a finished basement?
There's a portion of the basement that is finished at the
Yeah,
bottom of the
that's, I was
stairs.
wondering, I said
It's
to my,
not a,
thank you.
it's not a truly habitable space. It doesn't have 2 means of egress.
Yeah.
The ceiling height is under 7 feet, so I'm not exactly sure who renovated it at what point.
Yeah, and again, I like I say, I think a lot of work happened to this house before the new owners were there, and that's where I get the extra room as the finished basement. So with that count, we have 5 on the second floor, 5 on the first floor, and 1 finished basement. So we have 11. But
Mark,
on that
could I ask
first,
one clarifying question, Mark?
sure, but just before we get there,
Okay.
on the first floor, I will say we have 5 or 4 or 5, depending on how the board want. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on. But sure, you can go through the chair to get to me if you want. That's usually how it's happened. But I don't think the chair minds if you ask a question. Is that okay with the chairs?
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead, Doug.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out we consulted with Dan McIntyre of McIntyre Engineering on the bedroom and the septic system design, and his understanding was that the 1973 design had a 5-bedroom capacity, so it has a 600 gallon per day flow, 110 gallons per day per bedroom, so that's 550, and then the leaching area at the time was 600 square feet. But the calculation has changed since the 1975 Board of Health requirements in 1995. So according to the 1995 requirements, the 600 square feet would translate to 1,000 square feet for a leaching field because the sidewalls of the bottom area is added to that count. So his understanding is that the existing septic design is actually for 5 bedrooms per the contemporary code.
And again, we've seen that same kind of concept, but the state says you go by the disposal construction permit, which I have right here, and it says it's a 4-bedroom. So you can't go back in time and try to change it, even if you had a garbage grinder. And back then we were requiring, I believe it was 150 per bedroom, so that 600 is probably correct. And that included the garbage grinder, and the state came out with a mandate actually saying you cannot include garbage grinder flow into the septic system capacity, but I understand that is confusing because a lot of people say, well, that's a very large system, but you can't include the garbage grinder, and that was designed under the old code. But with that said, I think it's a matter of determining how we can define this house to make sure it doesn't have a room count that exceeds 9, or the possibilities there the board has looking at one, the kitchen dining area to see if that L shape will count as 1 or 2 rooms, and the finished basement room. I think those are the 2 items for discussion, if that helps.
And I can add that I have spoken about doing a deed restriction on that basement living space with the homeowners, and they're totally open to it. They have no intentions of making a bedroom, and they're not entirely sure when the basement was finished.
If the board wants, we can look at that finished basement room first and then go to the kitchen dining area. It's, or vice versa, you're right at the
Okay.
kitchen dining area, so that could be looked at first.
I'd
And-
rather look at the basement first because it might be
Oh, sure,
easier.
it's up to the board, yes. Well,
Sure, let's go to the basement.
okay.
And Doug, that is an excellent question about the pre-95 code and design flows versus the current code, and it is confusing. And you were not the first person to ask us that question.
Yeah.
And we
There it is, right there, just so you have it.
we have to go by what the state tells us for this, so.
And we ask them about it periodically, but for 20 years, they've held to that evaluation, so.
Yeah, so it's, we understand, but this is what we have to do, so. So looking at the basement, I guess, there is a bulkhead, is what I'm seeing. And that bulkhead is a door with several steps, or it is a true bulkhead with hatch?
It's a true bulkhead on the exterior with the hatch,
Okay,
and it doesn't, the rise and run of that stair wouldn't meet egress code.
yeah.
And the windows, are those the small ones that are up at the top of the ceiling, so not an egress?
Yes. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
They're all small, high window wells.
Okay, and there's no bathroom nearby, so that looks like the type of room that we have historically granted a deed restriction for.
Agreed. I agree. I would be comfortable deed restricting this to not count as a bedroom and to not be a bedroom and to not count in the room count. Let's just go and check with the rest of the board if we're if we have a majority on that.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we are comfortable with deed restricting the basement room, and it sounds like the homeowner is comfortable with this as well. So now we can go to the proposed kitchen dining.
Yeah, because now we reduce 1 room, so now it's a matter of, is the kitchen slash new dining area that they're proposing is an L shape, as you see here. That, and actually, that's the addition, is the dining room. Renovating the kitchen too, but would that be considered 1 or 2 rooms is the question. And I know we've seen L-shaped rooms before, and I think they vary on how the board looks at them.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like there's a ready-made eat-in space in the kitchen. That's what's throwing me on this right now. No, there is an open area.
Yeah, our intent, like the existing kitchen dining, were flipped from how we have it right now. And the intent is still to use it as a kitchen with a kind of extended great room off of it. And that's why like what we have labeled as dining room here is currently a 3-season porch. So we're taking out that wall and making a larger great room that they intend to use as one large room when they host their family for Thanksgiving and things like that. It's very much so intended to function as one great room.
Do you mean the whole L shape? Is that what you're talking about, or just
Correct.
the extension currently labeled dining?
No, the whole L shape is intended to be as open amongst itself as possible for hosting their
Okay.
family.
So since there are some homes in town that practically the entire first floor is open, but in those cases, to be fair to people who have more conventional divisions of different uses for the area, we do still expect to see, for example, if this L was the only thing, which could be considered a kitchen, dining, and living area, we do assign some kind of uses for something. So walls help define rooms, but we have to look at spaces sometimes for this. So most great rooms, we have had 2 uses at least for them. You know, when they do have a sitting area and cooking area and eating areas. So.
Yeah. So in my time on the board, I have not seen a kitchen dining L. And so I do look to to Mark and Daryl who have seen these more. I would agree the way that the board does treat space is not necessarily based on the walls, but on function. And given that the function of the proposed addition that will be sometimes dining, sometimes kind of an open great room, would suggest that that is a distinctly different function from the kitchen space. And so I am inclined to call these 2 rooms. Diane and Steve.
I'm just looking at it in terms of size. I mean, the dining room and the kitchen separately are pretty much the same size. So it's and I think someone brought up that the kitchen does already have an island with a eating area. So I'd look at it as 2 rooms.
Diana, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, how big is the kitchen island there? I mean, the drawing has 3 seats, but
Yeah, just give me one moment, I'll pull it up. Yeah, the island is 3 feet by 6 feet.
yeah, so that doesn't really fit everybody.
That seems like the room is probably 24 feet long than the kitchen. Something like that, at least 25.
Yep, that's about right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Martha and her husband live there full time. They do have children though. So it's primarily 2 occupants, but they do have family for Thanksgiving and things.
Actually,
Yeah,
for
we have to
my
look at the
parents
house.
and aunts and uncles who come for Sunday dinner. That's
Yep.
what we do. It's our thing.
Uh-huh.
The kids are all gone. Yeah.
Sometimes
We
I know
have to evaluate not the current way people are using a home, but what the space kind of could permit, and make sure that there's some alignment.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to know
It's
too.
difficult when every house looks completely different, but we try our best to be the same for every house as we can be.
I don't know if there's any consideration for combining like 2 bedrooms into one. That would get the room count down to 9, but that's asking for a lot. I understand that. But you know, you have that opportunity possibly, but again, that does reduce the bedrooms upstairs to 3. You know,
Yeah, I think this is a house designed to raise a family, and I think that taking
understand
out
that.
a bedroom would probably not be optimal. So if
And
we
that's
can't do the
fine.
renovation, my family will understand that we can't have the bigger dining room. No problem.
Well, at least if we can get it down to 11 rooms by a deed recording for the finished basement, the board can so vote. And it sounds like the consensus is that they will, and maybe redesign it and come back to us.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we had consensus on deed recording the basement room, which will bring you down to 10.
10.
If you spontaneously decide to replace your septic, which I know not many people do, you know, and the conditions are right, you would potentially have the opportunity to do what's we describe as a +1, so going from
Yes.
4 to 5 bed. Under a 5-bed system, you could certainly have the 10th room to do this addition. And that would be an option if that has been something you've been considering in any way. But I understand that you want to put your money into the space you can use.
Well, it's not that for us, it's more the septic has been working unbelievably great. Like we've never had problems. We raised 5 kids in this house. We never had an issue with it. And so to me, part of the reason we're doing this renovation is we're trying to make the house carbon neutral and trying to be environmentally friendly. And so to go and dig up a perfectly good system to put in something else just feels counterproductive to what we're trying to do. I've lived in Sherborn my whole life, 58 years. I mean, I love this town. And to have to dig up all of that and put in something new just seems, it's not the expense. If it was something that would make things healthier, I would, but I feel like the system has really worked well. And I understand that you have rules and the rules are the way they are, but I just, that for me, that's the harder thing. It's not the money to put in the new septic. It's the fact that we have to dig up something perfectly good and get rid of it and replace it. That's all.
I agree with if it's not broke, you don't fix it. I have that personally have that philosophy too.
I have a question. It's just if you look to the left of the kitchen island, is that an opening into the living room through there?
Yeah, correct. We're gonna, right now it's a closed wall, but we're gonna do French pocket doors so that you can flow from the kitchen to the living room.
I think there's a picture of your proposal, if I'm not mistaken, at the very beginning of the presentation. There's 2 pictures before and after, right at the top. There we are. Yeah. To help out a little bit. The darker woodwork is the older one. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the lighter counters and cabinets are the new proposal.
So where the picture's being taken is to the left would be the dining area. Is that for the new?
Yeah, so that
We're
left.
looking at the island and off to the left would be the dining.
Yeah, correct. Or if you look at the existing photo on the left, that window to the right that's over the sink currently doesn't go to the outdoors, it goes to the sunroom. So the wall that has those cabinets on it, we're just proposing to cut out that wall and then insulate the sunroom to bring it into the existing kitchen dining.
Okay. Well, so my other, now having seen that white picture and understanding what it was, I had been thinking that the only way I could see to get around not changing was to add more kitchen into that space to the left.
Now,
it already seems pretty extensive, but I don't know if that would work. But
yeah, no, there is
homes that have 2 islands in the kitchen.
Yeah, I will point out, straddling that door that was mentioned towards the living room, these French pocket doors, those are 2 built-ins that extend the kitchen use down to that end of the room. Yeah, I can't draw on this, which drives me a little crazy as an architect, but you see those 2 little 3-foot dimensions? Those are all kitchen built-ins that will match the cabinets across the room.
Yeah. Right. It's just that future owners would probably think to put a kitchen table there. So that's what's making that an eat-in kitchen, and thus that extension doesn't kind of, again, if we look at what we typically see, it would then be the dining room or the auxiliary living room or something like that. Although you already have those rooms elsewhere.
So we should ask with the architect and the homeowner, would you like us to proceed with approving a deed recording for the basement space?
Obviously I need to work with Martha and her husband on next steps and options. It seems like no matter what we do, the deed recording is going to help us get towards the bedroom count that we need. So Martha, unless you disagree, maybe if we still have the caveat that if we don't proceed with any of this work, that we could revoke or not undertake the deed recording. That might be too complicated to ask.
That's an interesting procedural question. Mark, should we?
I would say,
have we had cases where we've approved a deed recording and people have opted not to do it?
yeah, and that's why I would say I would hold off if I was them, and wait to resubmit another drawing. And then that's when the board could decide on the deed recording for the finished basement room if they're satisfied with the new eating kitchen area, it might be suggested to hold off and resubmit to the board. If you so wish to, you don't have to. I obviously can't approve this proposal at this time, but there's time to reconsider what may work.
Martha, let me know if you disagree, but we probably should hold off on a deed recording until we have a full game plan.
Yeah, no, I agree, because we may not go forward with any of this. I mean, this was just to be nice for our family, but it's fine. Understand. Thank you. Thank you for considering our request.
Given that
I'm trying to think, it's not our job to tell you what to do, but I'm trying to think of if I saw certain features, would I view the room differently? So I'm not trying to design anything for you, but again, if I saw a second workspace, island, or if the island was longer and extended into that other area, then it would look all kitchen food prep function oriented. Or behind the stair, on the wall next to the stairs, if there was more cabinetry there, and therefore the dining area for the kitchen appeared to overlap into that dining area, although it's very large. I don't know if that would change my opinion or not. Things to think about.
And if the dining, what we have labeled as dining, which used to be the sunroom, remained a 3-season porch, so separated from the kitchen, we would be okay on room count, correct?
That is correct the way I see it. With the deed recording to the finished basement, that is correct. Because then you'd be down to 10 rooms, but the finished basement would not count. So you'd be down to the 9 allowed rooms.
I'm just curious. We haven't added any rooms to the house since we bought it 15 years ago. So was it out of code then?
Well, in reviewing the assessments, it went out of code in between 1993, there was a 7-room, 4-bedroom assessment. 2006 is when it jumped up to 9 rooms in 2006. And in 2014, that next assessment we grabbed, it jumped up to 10 rooms. And I don't know what was going on then. I don't know if you owned it then, but for some reason, something happened between 2006 and 14. And again, I'm not for sure. I couldn't find anything in the building department files to show that there was an addition of a room. All I could find was renovations to bathrooms and so forth. That was in 1997. I don't know. Did you live there in 1997 with that building?
No, we've lived there for about 15 years. So we were
Okay.
definitely there in 2000, not 2004. Sorry. So yeah, 15 years or so.
So yeah, something did happen from, let's see, from actually 1993 to 2006, there was an addition of 2 rooms. So something was going on that wasn't being applied for at the building department because I couldn't find any files. And I'll say I couldn't find files. I won't say they didn't apply and something got lost, but something happened in that era that increased the room count that we were not aware of, because the Board of Health's been reviewing building permits since I've been there, and that's since the 80s. So I'm not for sure what happened with the previous owner and what they were doing.
And they were allowed to sell the house with an incorrect Was
It
all
would-
that incorrect?
It would probably not would have been caught if indeed the Title V inspector did not, and again, that started in 1995. If the Title V inspector did not go in the house to look at the room count, then that could have been missed. And it does happen. Sometimes the Title V inspector will just take verbatim what the homeowner tells them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. It's a big wow. I agree.
You are not the first person, Martha, to have that wow moment. We feel bad for people when they have that wow.
Yeah. That's why I kept mentioning you. And again, it was the previous owners where all this happened, unfortunately.
It's interesting because the Yawns had lived in town for, I don't know, 40 years. You would think they would know, but
Mhm.
obviously they didn't. Well, thank you. Thank you for explaining it.
You're welcome.
So just to recap, we'll hold off on doing a deed restriction. I'm going to consult with Martha, and we may or may not be back before you.
Okay, thank you. And if you have any questions, we're available in the office as well. Doug, you've met me there before, so feel free to reach out, either one of you, to me, or if you're ready to go see the board again, I'll be glad to put you on the agenda.
Thank you.
And if you want to do rougher sketches that you want reviewed, we're happy to do that too, without having to,
Yep.
Okay,
be as precise.
thank you.
Great. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right.
You.
Okay, so that's just
Yeah.
trying to keep up with this now. 35 Stony Brook. Let me just pull.
Do we have someone, I'm afraid,
Zach?
Mark, I don't know the names for.
Yeah, I am here.
Zach, yeah, thank you for waiting too. You've been very
Yeah,
patient.
no problem.
And so with the situation at 35 Stony Brook, they have a conventional 2014 septic system. It's a 4-bedroom design flow, but and again, I don't know how this happened. When it was designed in 2014, I don't know if they had the 5 bedrooms on the second floor, but in this house, presently 5 bedrooms do exist. So, and I know they, when they came to with the application through the building department, they weren't aware of that too. But
I
it
believe there's
it
only
actually,
4.
yeah. And so when you look at this, I think it's, when you go to the second floor, it's one more down, I think I have it. There it is, yeah. You'll see the bedroom count. And unfortunately, it's unless, one second, that
A different, you
bathroom
might
I
have been thinking of a different plan. Yeah, this one
yeah,
is.
yeah, I might, because now I see 4. Oh, good. That's a big plus. So you got 4 rooms on the second floor, so that's a big plus, Zach. I didn't see. I thought that said bedroom, and it says
Oh,
bathroom.
you got me nervous. I just looked at
Yeah,
it. I'm
no,
like,
and I was like, how did that get missed in 2014? Because usually whoever's designing goes in the house to check it as well.
yeah,
And what you want to do is, so with that might, I'm sorry to make you wait so
basically
long, but
they
that
have
might
a,
resolve. I know you want to turn the 4-season into a room.
yeah. So
And
basically they
then,
have a dining room that is
yeah,
like a
so
hallway. It's narrow. We
so
just want
I
to
stand corrected. It's 4 bedrooms above the first floor. I apologize. That bathroom, these plans sometimes I gotta enlarge them. That look like a bedroom to me. I apologize. It's a big bathroom though, but
Yeah.
again, if it's a bathroom, it's a bathroom. The main change will be that they want to take a deck and turn it into a 4-season room. So that deck you see there, and the dining room is now being changed to be labeled almost like an access way for the new, and you'll see on the new plans, they show that as, I forget what you're calling it, but it's an access way to the new 4-season porch. They're calling it a hallway, which was a dining room. So that's one area that I would want the board to look at to see if the dining room can just be relabeled so it's not counted as a room. But I want to do your room count again because
yeah.
be okay with the 4 bedrooms, even if it is a dining room. Let me just see. So on the first floor, and you wrote back to me, you have no finished attics, no finished basements, correct?
No.
And so let's count the rooms then. If the present room count would be 1, the hallway would count as 2 because it's called a dining room right now. The den 3, the living room 4, and the family room 5. So there's 9. So you'd be jumping up to 10 if the hallway is still considered the dining room. If not, then you're right at the point you should be, which is a 9-room house. So it's up to the board to decide if, that area can just be switched over to being called a hallway, and maybe it's up to the board, but Zach, you can justify how it went from a dining room to a hallway.
Yeah, so the table was always basically jammed up against the wall. So now the table's going to go into the new space. They're going to expand some kitchen cabinets down around my 6-foot opening there that isn't shown on the plans.
Okay.
And it looks, bigger obviously on the plan than it does in Justice. It's kind of a narrow, space. Can't really fit a table or anything like that.
And if the board's okay, then they will be at their 9-room count, as long as that new proposed 4-season room in the room in between is considered now access to it versus a dining room. That's the main consideration.
So do we have the dimensions on the space that is existing dining relabeled to hallway?
Hallway, yeah.
Or a picture or something for me to understand?
Don't really have a picture of it. It looks to be around 12 by 12 on the plan. I can't really see what's there on that wall, and it looks like 12 and a half. So like,
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. If that opening is 12 and a half.
yeah, because that goes to it's probably a little less than that, maybe 10 and a half, 11.
Right.
Mhm.
And so, Steve, could you move, that's the existing with the deck. Steve, could you scroll to the proposed for the first floor with the porch reconfigured as the 4-season? Okay. So, for
You were
me,
there. Yeah, there.
perfect.
That's the opening, the original.
For me, it doesn't quite change to a hallway, given the breadth of that space. But, oh, no, Steve, could you go to the.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Yep,
There we go.
that's the part that I want. Actually, and I think on the subsequent page, there is a blow up of the proposed change. Am I right about this? Further down, page 6. Yep, thank you. That'll actually, I think that's the target area that we're discussing. So for me, if you take what is an existing dining room that's roughly 12 and a half by, let's say 12 and a half, I'm sure it's not square. And you are continuing the same function of that room, but you are just expanding that room, then that would just still be one room bigger. But what I'm getting caught up on here is the 6-foot opening from what is labeled hallway to the proposed 4-season dining room. That is functionally a set of, double French doors that would divide that space.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for this to really pass the gut check is the I mean, if this is a 4-season room, that's the same as any other room, right? Then just opening up that 6-foot opening so it is wider, so that functionally the hallway area, labeled hallway area to new dining area, is just one big open space, then I could count that as one room. But with a 6-foot opening that could easily be closed off, I'm not saying that's what you guys are going to do, but certainly someone could. I mean, then they really start to look like 2 distinct rooms to me.
Yeah. No, I can make that change and open that up to, 12 feet or something like that, or 10 feet, whatever would be acceptable,
And I have no idea if the section of wall here is load bearing or what, so I want to make sure that that's.
Yeah. No, I would
but,
get that all approved with the building department, of course.
But as long as that is structurally possible, then that would be opening that 6-foot opening to much wider would certainly pass the muster for me.
I agree with that, because right now that's a huge hallway.
The other, I have a question about, is that an island in the kitchen that has kind of the chairs marked off along the bottom edge of it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's like a workspace. So here's the way I also kind of look at this, is that even though it has chairs, we often see islands and kitchen tables in a kitchen. So in a way, what's called the hallway could be considered the eat-in area for the kitchen.
So
If
that's
that
the
seems
thing.
like they flow together enough, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's the thing. They want to put around that 6 foot opening like a double wall oven and some built-ins to tie the kitchen in. So in a sense, it is going to be a kitchenette area, you know? It's going to be a part of the kitchen, you know, unless we open the wall up, then they'll probably end up using it a little differently, you know?
So the kitchen,
Uh,
proposed kitchen will extend into what's labeled hallway in the proposed, so the kitchen will actually go into that space.
Yes.
Okay, so that just
Oh.
makes this a bigger kitchen instead of needing to make the dining.
Mm.
I think we would just need some type, because that is in no way depicted on this
Yeah,
plan.
I can
It
change
looks
it.
like
on
the
the
kitchen
plan.
stops here at the 12.5 foot opening.
I could change it because all this was talked about after this plan was, you know, submitted.
Mm.
So then if that is just one continuous generous kitchen, then that's one space, and then the 6 foot opening into the deck come dining room, it can be a separate room with a 6 foot opening if you want. That would be fine,
All right.
but it would need to be reflected in the plan.
Yeah, I could change the kitchenette to a hallway, mark it with the cabinets where they're going so you could see it and resubmit it in the morning.
But
Oh,
we're
because
closed tomorrow,
in
but you
Oh,
can
yeah, yeah.
you can
Yeah,
electronically resubmit though, that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Okay.
And I can share it.
okay, because are you saying that perhaps maybe there will not be a passageway from the den office into the hallway on the left side of those closets? Like, will it come out and meet that, the closets? Which would then make it look more like one big kitchen. I'm just curious. Yeah.
And more privacy for the den and office too, if that was to happen, where a wall would go right up to those two closets.
It's not in the plan, but
Oh, okay.
But that would make it look like a big kitchen.
yeah. Okay.
You may
As
want
an
to pass
option.
that by your clients and see what they say, but I
Okay.
agree with Daryl.
Okay.
And kind of the same thing as the others. Doesn't have to be fancy at this point.
No, I'll
not
change it
having
up on here and
time
get
to
it.
get it perfect, but
No, it's fine. No problem.
Zach, you have my email, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll,
you sent, I'm looking at an email from you, of course you do. Okay, thank you. If you want to send that off to me, once you sit down with your clients, just send it off and I'll share it.
Okay, cool.
Sorry about the bedroom count. I goofed up on that.
No, that's okay. No problem.
I thought the same thing when I first looked at it
Yeah.
because I didn't.
I gotta call
toilets
my
and
eye
everything, and then
doctor.
I'm like, wait a minute, I don't see them anywhere on that floor.
That made me feel better when I saw a bathroom today. I'm like, oh, good. They did design it according to the bedrooms upstairs.
It might help if you added a tub and a toilet in there and all that.
Yeah.
Just to show it. Yeah.
Or bathroom like.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think that's how visually how it registers for us.
You could have 15 bathrooms, and that's not how we determine septic capacity.
A little crazy.
Okay. Are you all set, Zach, then, or?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you, guys. I'll get this resubmitted over.
And again, sorry for the wait. I
No
just
problem. It
I was
happens.
here first. Okay,
I hear
thank
ya.
you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too.
Good night.
So, let's see. It's up to the board what you want to do next. The others should be pretty quick.
Why don't you finish out your business, and
Okay.
I would say dealer's choice, Mark. If you
Yeah, I'm just going to go in the order they were there. I'll go to 84 Coolidge Street.
Sure.
Just want to let the board know we received an application for well construction for 2 wells over at 84 Coolidge, and it drew my attention to the fact I thought this property was getting public water. So couple weeks ago, Julie, you were with me, and I brought up the fact that, wow, they're going with on-site public water supply versus one of the community's water supplies, I think Framingham's. And I guess under the Mass Environmental Policy Act, they have to prove there's not enough water on site. So that's why these wells are being drilled. And it'll be determined after they do their pump test. It's all under the state, but once the pump test is complete, they'll be able to determine if there's enough water at this site, on site versus bringing in municipal water.
And
So,
that comes from the interbasin transfer.
thank you, Daryl. Yes.
I don't know if it's an act, but they don't want to see water transferred between basins and not maintaining whatever the hydrogeologic cycle is. Of course, Quabbin Reservoir is a perfect example of enormous interbasin transfer, but and I agree with the principle in terms of local sustainability and what have you, which is what we're trying to do here in Sherborn. It's just that this is a very large project. Try to have well and septic co-located with also the general chemical issues just to the left of where this map.
I believe Daryl, it's definitely getting late. Daryl, it is the Interbasin Transfer Act, and it is a decision of the Massachusetts Water Resource Council in conjunction with DEP to establish.
They're looking for a justification, and the town's been talking about, right, we're being pushed to have larger development than we would normally think of could be sustained, just as we've been talking about that earlier, about having so many septic systems close together and what that potentially means for impact on groundwater. And so this would be even far larger than what we were talking about earlier this evening. And so we're trying to meet the affordable housing goals and then maintain the sustainability of our water cycle here. And those two things are at odds.
I
So
agree.
it's a complicated situation.
The well driller did add, first he called, which was good, Derek Skillings. And you'll see at the bottom of this document that's showing up, there's a letter from him just explaining the purpose. It should be the last document. There it is right there. Just explaining what they're doing.
And I'm not sure why they're re-drilling because there are wells there already.
Yeah, I was told at the land planning meeting, there's already 2 wells there, but I think maybe DEP said you got to drill some more if you want to prove there's not enough water. But I don't want to speak for DEP, but that's what I expect they're doing.
Tom Trainer has his hand up, I think. Shed some light.
I can shed some light on that. This has come up at the new North Sherborn Water Commission meetings. The current developer, Toll Brothers, if they were forced to put local wells there and not take advantage of the new water district, one big problem for them would be the size of the potential zone 1 and zone 2 for 1 or 2 wells. It would really preclude building, the large buildings and the driveways and everything. So one way of reducing the size of the zone 1s and zone 2s is reducing the individual flows from the wells. So their latest plans show 4 wells. And there's 2 existing wells and they're adding 2 more. That should they get enough water quantity and good enough water quality, that might be an option for them to develop that site. That's part of the reason. However, one of the caveats of the approval of the zoning change at town meeting
7 or 8 years ago for this property was the stipulation that MWRA water and sewer be supplied to the development. So they're kind of in the middle of a catch-22 with this well test.
Mhm.
I hope that helps.
The
Right, and then we
comprehensive-
don't want large septic discharge there that could contaminate those wells.
Mhm.
So we would want that to go out of town, and then we are transferring water from Sherborn out of town. So there's it's really a very difficult
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah.
But this all is due to the Interbasin Transfer Act that the state's Water Resource Commission, has very strong regulations. You got to go through all these steps. And every other town in Metro West has MWRA water and sewer.
Yeah.
My understanding, Tom, was that the comprehensive permit was conditional on the bringing in of public water offsite.
Yeah.
And if in fact that changes, then that the comprehensive permit becomes null and void, right?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think
and
you're right. Thank
that's-
you.
We go back to zero. So let's for one of the few times, let's hope for the worst. All right, it's 10 o'clock, folks, and I want to continue to move us through. Do we have any other comments on 84 Coolidge? I think that is
No.
more to come.
I think we move HAB to another time unless Tom would like to give a very succinct overview.
I don't think we have HAB on our agenda. I think we have the farm pond, the drinking water results.
Oh, ADUs.
The bubbler. Because here in
Something.
Massachusetts, we call it a bubbler and not a drinking fountain. Where I grew up, it was called a drinking fountain.
Can I just ask a point of order?
Absolutely, Tom.
Yeah, that's the main reason why I stayed on your very interesting meeting. The last several hours. I can't believe how hard you guys work. I was just curious what you wanted to talk and discuss about ADUs, because the Groundwater Protection Committee has a lot of concern about added septic density in this town, and ADUs seem to be a huge threat to groundwater qualities.
Yep. How about we will I think this is a quick check off mark of the because we have it up on the screen. And I think we're just going to review the water quality test.
Yes,
for drinking
just-
water at Farm
yep.
Pond.
And it
We will
passed.
absolutely go there.
I'm sorry. I see Sarah's hands up, though. I don't want to interject until maybe, I don't know if the chair wants to recognize Sarah.
Sarah, is your question relative to the water quality reports for the bubbler at Farm Pond?
No, it's about the ADU.
All right, we will get there. We will get there next if you want to hold your question.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you. And you'll see from the report, the results are excellent for the drinking water. And so far, the water temperature's gone up to 70 degrees, but we are not finding any high levels of E. coli right now. It's still less than 5. So we've had one a little higher than that, but I just have my fingers crossed. So, but it's so far so good with the lab reports, both for the swimming water as well as the drinking water. So that's that with Farm Pond. And then the next one would be the Permit Extension Act. I received information both from DEP as well as from Joyce Hastings, who was very helpful. She knew the law more than DEP did at the first time it came up, and she was able to let us know that there's a law out there that says if you had a permit that was approved from January 1st, 2023 through January 1st, 2024, that it gets extended for another 2 years. And we did one person inquiring at 9 Kendall Ave, which that one was approved in that time period. So they automatically get a 2-year extension. And I was really surprised at that first. I wasn't for sure about that. So I called the DEP and she had to look into it herself. The person I dealt with was at the regional DEP, and she had to get to her administrator. They weren't aware of it either. So one of those things that does happen at times where DEP or the state will send out this type of act without our knowledge. And but now we know, and I just want to make sure the board was aware of it.
Okay.
And the next one we had added to the agenda, and that was Bill Rodenheiser. He's requesting a installer's certificate, and that came in today. I don't know if it got generated on the agenda. I think it was last minute, like almost like at 1 o'clock. But I'm okay with. I did check his references, and all 3 towns. Well, 2 out of 3 were able to tell me that he's in good standings. The third town wasn't able to get back to me. So.
So this is a renewal of an installer's permit.
Yeah, I don't know if he had renewed last year, but it's a renewal from years before, and he does have his insurance policy to the town of Sherborn, which he's required to do. So, with that said, as long as he follows our rules and regulations, I'm going to recommend approval. And right now, the only work proposed is they called to ask about doing a distribution box, and we had to advise them they weren't aware that you have to go through conservation as well. So they were advised of that yesterday, as well as the fact they didn't have their installer's permit. So a little bit rushed, but I understand these things do happen.
Okay.
So we would have to vote on it.
Do I have a motion to approve a renewal of an installer's permit for Rodenheiser excavating? There's no conditions, right, Mark?
No, just that he does pre-construction or pre-notification. If it's a septic system, he has to do pre-construction with the designer. If it's a distribution box, just pre-notification, and we'll set up the inspection together.
So conditional to a pre-construction.
Pre-construction, yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Carol Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
And I
Alright.
think that's it under my business. I might ask the board for an agenda item for the next meeting, but at this time, I think my items have been discussed. Thank you.
Sounds good. Since we have folks apparently waiting for our EDU discussion, of which, actually, Steve, would it be okay if I screen shared? I pulled up our semi-public water supply reg, and it might be easiest if we just be able to look at it. So, is everyone seeing the regulation? Does it need to be bigger?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because we're focused here on section 2.4. So the new ADU regulation from the state potentially puts this regulation into question. And so the issue here is you cannot have a local regulation that is more restrictive of an ADU than it is of a single family dwelling. And so when we look through this regulation, which was updated, I think this one was not updated in 23, or was it? I can't remember. That was 2 years ago. We have particularly here this line that a semi-public water supplies serve more than one single family home on a single property, or one single family home and one accessory dwelling unit, but have service connections and or usage levels below the thresholds for public water supplies. So they serve more than a single family home and a single property, or a single family home and a single accessory dwelling unit. The one thing to note is the current structure of ADUs in town is it is possible to have two ADUs on your property. One would be by right through the A&R process, and that is 900 square feet or less. And then you can have a second, which would be by special permit, that's 1,200 square feet or less. And so you could, in theory, have two. And so one of the things, this is more kind of a, especially given the time, I want to, if we have specific discussion points or questions that we might want to raise, but to me, this seems like we just need to amend this to make sure that accessory dwelling units do not count, one or two do not count in our definition of semi-public water supplies.
And if I can add, Julie, this was done prior to any knowledge that ADUs were going to be regulated and brought forward by the state. And so when the board was reviewing this, I believe it was to look at subdivisions and so forth, so that it really was not understood at that time how this could interfere with the present ADU requirements. So I agree with you, this needs to be changed in my view.
Yeah. It's not a radical change, but it would be a change.
And I see it a little differently because at the time, it just kept asking about semi-public water supplies. And it was in the regulations from way before anybody on the board, maybe even the staff, knew why we even had reference to semi-public water supplies with no definition, really. So we just wanted to figure out something. So that currently there are really no special requirements for it. We didn't get to that. We just wanted to say it's anything over than one home, and figure out the rest later. So I don't know that we need to pull it back. Now, what I see is inconsistent with what we have is it could be one single family home and multiple accessory dwelling units on a property, right? Because that is a possibility. So I think that's inaccurate. But again, we still haven't figured out, so what? You know, what are any requirements that go along with semi-public other than slightly bigger radius maybe? But there's not much going on in this arena just yet. And that was by design then. It was just to put some kind of definition so people stopped asking us about it because we didn't have anything else to say. I never thought that we'd be trying to figure out what to do with it so soon.
I think this is more of a clerical, what I'm suggesting is not a rescinding of this regulation or any massive expansion. I'm simply suggesting that we consider doing a change so that it is not specific to only one ADU, and that it would be so that it does not apply to, I mean, my understanding is that the most you can have are two ADUs on a property. So I just want to make sure that the semi-public condition does not apply to a situation with two ADUs and a primary.
And I think part of the intent was once you start having water that's shared, should there be something about relaying information or something like that? And I think that'll be a bigger issue if there are not owner-occupied residences connected, because I think that's the other change that's come along with the ADU regulations is, you know, in the past, it's always been that to have the in-law cottage or whatever, they needed to be family and, you know, the owner was living there too. So I think once you start moving farther away from people having control, and even a renter can always test their water. So I'm not sure where to go with this exactly without making it unnecessarily more work for us. And are there other ways to offer protections to people, such as sample from your tap and bring it to a lab? It is an added expense, but an important one. And for around $150, you can get the basics. Might not get volatiles, and you wouldn't get PFAS, but you would have other results. I'm not certain yet what to do.
So you're concerned that the intent of this regulation was to be protective of renters, which,
No,
yes,
not necessarily, but it was really just to try to distinguish between the private well. And so that's why the threshold was low, just to separate out just one home, one well, and then all other situations. But we never got to all other situations because along came COVID. So the discussion stopped.
so in the by right legislation, yes, the primary residence does not have to be occupied by the owner, and the ADU can be rented. However, both the ADU and the primary residence on that parcel has a common ownership. I think maybe it's just because it's getting late. I'm not quite sure what it is we would be protecting against, because I agree that a renter in any situation has the opportunity to take a test from their tap, and then, you know, there are plenty of treatment units that you can have on the countertop, or, you know, that doesn't require any installation. It's certainly an added expense between testing and potential treatment, but I think
And
that
I don't even think it was intended for this small. It was just a dividing line between the kinds of Abbey Road, for example, where that skirted the regulations for what really should have been a public water supply, and yet was divided up. There's a loophole that was still present in the regulations, but we didn't know what number to pick. Was it 5? Was it, you know, in that case, it was 24 people divided across one thing. But it was just complicated, and it was only meant to be a placeholder for something. I'm not wedded to anything yet, and I think there's multiple issues. And it was certainly with a nod more towards the larger collectives, where then there becomes, and I think Sarah is going to be able to make excellent comments regarding that, because they experienced exactly what we were concerned about. It's very hard to organize a large group around a shared resource, and how is money spent and what is done. We go to Sarah, let her figure it out at this late hour.
All right, go ahead, Sarah.
I'll try and be quick, and I really want to thank you all. I thought this would be coming up first on the agenda and I would be out of here, but anyway, thank you for your service to the town and taking the time, all the making the considerations you need to make. But I will say, Daryl is correct that after I have had the personal experience of living at Abbey Road, and after that experience, when the Farm Road homes was being developed and going through the Zoning Board of Appeals permitting process, after every meeting, I would send a letter, and I'm happy to send those letters, copies to the Board of Health, sharing how dysfunctional a shared system is. So my thought would be for the Board of Health either to mandate that these ADU situations are responsible, the wells are the responsibility of the homeowner on the title and however they break it down, or our public water supply, because it's just beyond dysfunctional to have the situation at Abbey Road. It was 18 homeowners, and we were in blocks of 6 owners in one well room. And it, you know, I can say a million positive things about living at Abbey Road, but the one negative thing was the water and how dysfunctional the shared system is, even currently. I would submit that maybe the developer would, I don't know about agree, but also understand that it wasn't a perfect system. But at any rate, I don't get together with any, I have a couple of friends that are still Abbey Road holdovers, and we get together and the water always comes up. It's just, it's not, it's a broken system. So I say, let's use that as a good learning tool for moving forward for the Board of Health in terms of its determination of how to regulate ADU water supply.
Thank you, Sarah.
And I don't know how to lower my hand. Oh, here it is. Sorry.
It's okay. Do you want to add in? Tom Trainer, would you
Yep,
wanna-
thank you. Yeah, I have two concerns, and one of them I voiced a couple minutes ago. I jumped the gun. And I hope maybe at another meeting you have as an agenda item ADUs and septics, because that is just a huge area. We have concerns. But sticking to the water issue, if you're looking to upgrade your regulations, I might suggest, since you're adding more dwellings, more people as ADUs are added, and I think given the housing demands, I think we're going to see more of them than we have in the past. You might consider doing what Mass DEP recommends for all private wells, which is retesting, at time of ownership change. And I would suggest at time when a new ADU is added to an existing house, that the well be required to be tested, both for quality and quantity. We have a lot of older homes in town. You want to make sure the quantity is adequate for a second dwelling. So those are my recommendations. If you were to tweak your regulation, we're not seeing people testing their wells on a regular basis. You know that better than I do, and this would be one avenue to encourage more well testing. Thanks.
I think that's parsing that out. There would be the larger question if we want to require well testing at the time of ownership. I know this board's discussed that in the past. I'm not sure that there would be a majority support for that. But I think then the question is, when an ADU is added, does there have to be a quality and quantity test to verify the competency of the well? And would that be deemed more restrictive than a single family dwelling? I certainly like that idea in general, just to ensure that if you're going to go and permit this and build it, to make sure you're going to have enough water. So I think that's a great question. That's actually, that sounds like a legal question to me in terms of a legal interpretation.
And I can add, I believe that under the I haven't seen anything under the ADU's language to say that they would need to test, but within the housing codes, say if they're renting to someone, I have had to have landlords test the water because I've received complaints that the water wasn't of good quality. And so that can be done at that level, but it's kind of always at the end of when the concern is there versus being proactive. So I always tell everyone that calls, you should be testing your well on a yearly basis for bacteria and do the full gamut of the test every 3 years. And if there's a problem, continue testing it and try to find out what's causing the issue. But I have to agree with Tom. I don't think many people do it. They just forget about doing it until there's a problem. Then they start testing. I just had someone calling that was getting a sulfur odor, and so I asked her if she was testing for bacteria. She said no. And I said, well, do that test no matter what, and then contact a well contractor to see what might be causing the other issues. And I gave her access to Google documents on what might cause sulfur odors and so forth. But as a whole, unless it's a public water supply, it's unfortunate, but I don't think people are testing their water as often as they should. That's my point. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, when I took a hiatus from the Board of Health for a while, I just organized a bunch of people and I went to the lab and picked up things. But I'd love to be able to do that as the Board of Health, but then we're tied in and then they're obligated to tell us, somehow have some control over the results. I don't know. But if we made it easy for people, and that's all I had done at that point, was I was going to drive to the lab anyway to pick up the containers, and I was going to drive back to drop mine off. So I just got a whole bunch of people together to do that. But if we could do something like that, or maybe Board of Health, but through groundwater protection, could help organize that, announce to people, be simpler. Because right now, some of the labs are a bit of a hike away. One that I use is an hour away, and others half hour at least. So that's a disincentive right there. But if it was a non-regulatory group, kind of center of it, might be a little less intimidating and also less work, frankly, for the Board of Health to track. And then what do we do if someone has an off result?
Darrell, can I
legally
comment
what
on
we
your
would
comment?
be obligated for? Sure.
There are private companies, I won't use any names, but I can, that will handle the sampling and sample transfer. So people don't have to drive to the lab. And number two, some of you may remember the Groundwater Protection Committee did a free program with the nonprofit RCAP in Worcester 2 or 3 years ago on 40 Sherborn homes. They're willing to do that, just so you know, anytime again. However, we would either have to charge the residents their costs and or get a grant to do that. But our committee would be happy to work along the lines with your board if there was an interest to do an organized testing program.
I don't think it should have to be for free. Or
no, I don't think either. We could
to get a grant either. We're a community that somehow, to me, those grant money should go to communities that are a little more challenged than we are. I think it's more the ease of being able to just have it done more simply, not having to make the arrangements, etc.
I will agree to that with the exception of, while the majority of households might be able to absorb that added cost, it is not every household. And advocating
I realize
for
that.
the households that the extra couple of $100, which is what these tests come to, would be a hardship. I would love to be able to offer qualifying funds through a grant for those homes to be able to access.
If we work through RCAP, they do that. They do hardship households for free.
That's fantastic. This would be amazing if we could set this up. There could be a, sign up. This is what the cost is. We have a sign up period. We have a number of folks. And I think that just in itself highlights awareness to do it, and then it facilitates it. And the fewer barriers we have for folks, I think the more likely we are to get voluntary testing, especially if they are not under obligation to then report back results to us where they would feel like they're forced to take action. We would educate and encourage if necessary, but thank you, Tom. This is incredibly helpful. I think that we should follow up with your group about how to make this happen.
I'll reach out to them again and circle back to you by email and see if we can't continue the conversation.
That's wonderful. I love that idea. I think it would probably take a few go rounds to get enough people aware, but I think that would be great.
So does RCAP track the results against location?
They do their own analysis, but they guarantee anonymity.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That was a little off track. Okay. So this was just intended to be an opening discussion around the specifically the semi-public water supply regulation relative to ADUs. I think we have potentially a legal question or a few legal questions to go back, but I think, and then we'll need to come back and have maybe further discussion if a amendment to this regulation is necessary to be in compliance. And in terms of ADUs and relative to septics, yes, Tom, we absolutely recognize that the application of well and septic to the ADU situation, now that that regulatory landscape is changing, it's a big pie. So we're trying to take it one piece at a time as a way to just be able to digest it in between all of our other business. So I agree. Stay tuned. We hope to continue to have ADUs on our agenda to kind of work at this. All right, it's 10:30, folks. I think we're all fading. Let's go to let's go to the minutes of June 4th. I have to confess, despite my best intentions, I did not get to read these minutes. I sat down numerous times and got distracted. Do we have, all we need is a majority vote to approve them. So if everyone else did, we can go through any edits.
I'll confess I did not, but given who the minutes taker was, I haven't had a second, and I still have 3 major projects to get done tonight. So I can't even put it on my list for soon.
Given these were just for our last meeting, we, in terms of open meeting law compliance, we can certainly still vote on these at our July meeting and still be in compliance. So by that, we don't even have a majority to be able to approve these. So Diana and Stephen, unless you have burning edits that you want to share with us on these minutes, which you're very welcome to, it sounds like we're going to need to kick these to our July meeting.
I had a quick glance at them and not really anything in depth. I thought they looked fine. Again, I'll agree with what Daryl said, given that Ellen put them together. I just looked at them and I thought they looked great. So I'd be willing to vote for them, but
I think the June meeting was actually done by Kristan.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Ellen did
Down.
the May meetings. But
Okay.
this latest round was from Kristan, and we just received it just a couple of days ago, so there wasn't we didn't have a full week to review them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to put it off, we can put it off.
Diana, are you the?
I read it, yes.
the
I
best.
just had a minor edit on the second page, lines 55, 56. That was just more like a typo thing. And line 112, 113, I didn't quite understand the way it was written, but it's as per the tape, though I don't really think it's as clear as it could be.
Okay.
Okay. And the rest of it was fine.
Okay. In that case, we should all take a look just to make sure it's clear. put those edits someplace where you can remember them.
Oh, no, I
And-
printed it out. I have to print things out, and so I've got it in ink.
Okay. I actually do the same thing. I'm old fashioned too. Um, all right, so we will review these and vote on these at our July meeting. So hopefully we'll have two sets of minutes potentially for our July meeting to review. Administratively, we were trying to confirm the 2 dates that we have for summer to make sure that we will have a quorum. This is assuming that when these dates were set, it was the holidays and probably most of us didn't have summer plans formed at that point in time. So now that we actually are coming up on the dates, we want to confirm that we will have a quorum. So the July meeting is scheduled for the 16th. I am able to make that meeting. And I know that critically, Jean will be compiling the agenda, and the folder will be here to do that. Is there anyone who's going to miss the July meeting?
I will be out of state, but I should be able to attend
Okay.
because we have a virtual meeting, so.
And as long as we have a quorum, then it would be optional. Steve, are you able to attend the 16th of July?
Yes.
Okay. And Daryl, you are available?
Yep.
Okay. So it looks like that date can stay, which is good because if we have any variances, the butter notification is probably going out.
We do have a variance.
Yeah.
For
So
the
that's
16th.
That's excellent. The one that a butter notifications probably will not have gone out yet would be the August 13th date. For me, I will not be able to attend that meeting now. And I can say that our assistant administrator will be out in a period of time where it would be hard for her to put together an agenda and upload documents, in particular if there's anything last minute. And so far more important is her work here. And so I think there was a question about moving that meeting to a different date in August. And I would propose then potentially the 20th of August. Again, making sure that anyone who might have a variance hearing has enough time for a butter notification. I'm available on the 20th, and I've confirmed with Jean that she will be available to assist with support. What do you guys think? The 20th of August and moving the 13th.
That works for me.
Good for me.
Me too,
Okay.
as best I know.
Do we have to have a motion to move the posted meeting date? I actually don't know. Does anyone know?
Yeah, I think we voted on the original schedule, so let's just
Yes.
vote.
And then we'll update the calendar. Okay. So
I think it only fair to mention that, let's say someone finishes a septic plan and delivers it to us. I don't know how many days to the 20th. Oh, we have 45 days. They did something in early July. We might, to avoid meet the 45 days, we might have to hold like an emergency meeting or special meeting to have a variance hearing. There's a little bit of risk there, but
yeah. But that if that need arises, we can schedule something. We would need a quorum, and it would be probably a 1-item agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion to reschedule our August meeting date from August 13th to August 20th?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Carol Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
Oh, Mark, we didn't check with you. I hope you can you do the 20th? Okay, I'm sorry. You're important too.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it works better for me too, so I appreciate the 20th.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Even better.
Items for next time. We know that meeting minutes will be on the agenda. I didn't get a preview of what's on the agenda from Jean, so I'm afraid I don't know.
We have 22 Curve Street. They've already received a deficiency notice. After checking with DEP, they're going to have to show a conventional system, and we can chat about that at the meeting. But I spoke to the designer. He understands what he has to do, so we should be okay with that one.
Okay, and if we have 40 Forest Street.
Yes. Yeah.
And if the folks at 19 Saddlebrook want to come back, they might come back. We'll see where we are with continuing our discussion on ADUs. Again, there's a couple of issues there that I'm trying to break it down into manageable bites as we try to address it. So there's the possibility of adding something for ADUs. Anything else? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Carol Beardsley, aye.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Diana Hook, aye.
Have a good Juneteenth, everyone.
Yes. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Night.
Bye.
Night.